We're rolling.
Welcome back, everybody. Episode 48 of the Jiu-Jitsu Dummies podcast. We are sponsored by Fightback CBD. Get 20% off your CBD order at fightbackcbd.com with code JJD. I just got some of these lovely new products. You got the CBD roll-on.
Oh, really?
Got the nighttime CBD.
Sweet.
And we've got some bath bombs. All right?
Oh, I was wondering what those little eyeball things are. Nice.
Can't wait to. I brought them into the studio. I will be taking them back with me to use some of them. So
yeah, I don't take baths. I don't take showers.
20% off your order. Fightbackcbd.com with code JJD. My name is. Where am I, Bo?
Nope.
Milton Campus, Purple
You're
Belt,
in the
Fight Sports,
studio
Coral Springs.
doing a podcast.
You can check me out on Instagram at Uncle Bill TBJJ. We got Bo, the comedian behind the camera. Say hello, Bo.
Hello, everyone.
Huge shout out to Flow and Roll at flow_n_roll on Instagram. Get 20% off your online t-shirt, rash guard, or gi order with code JJD at flowandroll.com. All right. DD214. Got my DD214 shirt on today.
Look at that. I'm wearing it too. I'm wearing mine.
Look at that, dude. Yeah. Look at us. Twinsies. DD214 Fightwear, or it's actually on IG, it's DD214_Fightwear. Gear for the war on PTSD. I love that slogan. Get 15% off your online order at dd214bjj.com. Please check out their new Soul Armor gi, right? I put the link in the bio. It's very cool. In the liner of the gi, they have the names of fallen soldiers.
Oh, that's right.
It's amazing. Yeah. I'm just starting to see
that's
the first
cool.
pictures of people at tournaments and showing it. It's an awesome gi. They're doing great things for the community, for the veteran community. And they're just so I'm happy to have them, man. I just can't say enough about them. They've been great. We're actually doing right now. By the time this airs, we would have just awarded 10 DD214 rash guards on our Instagram. So keep an eye on our Instagram, everybody. We do giveaways every single month.
Cool. Yep.
And if we don't have a sponsor doing a giveaway, we're going to give away something. So we gave away a couple of things. We did the YouTube giveaway on the last episode, which we awarded. We gave them a rash guard, and I just gave away. What did I do?
You're super active on there, so people need to really follow you because you're posting all the time.
We're giving away a ton of stuff.
Shit right away.
When I'm taking a dump, I got my phone and I decided to do a giveaway.
Posting.
That's how this all happens, people.
Dumper posting.
We also want to thank Retro Grappler. We're collaborating with them on a new rash guard design. I said gi design last episode. I meant rash guard. Check them out at Retro Grappler Shop on IG and retrograppler.com. Very cool stuff. Warriors Next Adventure. Shout out to Nick and his crew. They're a veteran nonprofit. They're filming a documentary. They really just finished the tour, on the road filming.
Oh, they did? They did. They finished the filming.
He wound up doing 48 days total, yeah.
Right, cool.
After the bus broke down, went back and got his truck. So they're filming a documentary called PTSD versus Jiu-Jitsu. Again, they just finished 48 days of traveling the country. They came down here. Sweet. They did the podcast. We trained a little bit. Check them out at Warriors Next Adventure. And for more information about the actual documentary, click on the PTSD versus Jiu-Jitsu tab, and there's a video that plays, and you can learn how to support and maybe even donate to the cause. All right? Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share wherever you're watching or listening. And if you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to click the bell. Bing, bing. And you'll get notifications every time we launch a new video. All right. Anything else? You good?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Let's
sweaty.
get today's guest in here.
A little sweaty, but
let's get him in here. Ready?
Yep.
Let's do this.
Let's do it.
All right, everybody. Joining us today is the youngest ever black belt under Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu legends Renzo Gracie and John Danaher. I got that right off your website, so it's got to be right. He's becoming very well known for his MMA and BJJ instructionals. You got IG, TikTok, YouTube. Welcome, Stephen Williams, everybody. How you doing, bud?
Appreciate you having me, dude. Thank you.
I appreciate it. And like I always say, thank you for being patient. We had a little problem there. We appreciate you sticking around. We had one guy that took off one time. He's just like, I can't wait.
Really?
I won't say his name on air.
All right.
I won't say his name on air. He had a date with his girlfriend, and he wanted to go early. We were on time. He wanted to go early, and we couldn't go early. and then he dipped. It was
Really?
yeah.
It must have been an important date. She must have been in that honeymoon phase. First started dating her.
Yeah, I won't have him on. I don't like his stuff online anymore. I stopped following him.
Yeah.
Well, welcome, Steven. So there's a lot in that intro. I mean, let's get the obvious stuff out of the way. Renzo Gracie black belt. How does that work? I'm very curious of, I know, you train at a studio. Like I train at Fight Sports and my coach is coached by, Cyborg. How does that work? That dynamic? Did you get your belt from both of them? Is it Danaher? Explain that to everybody.
Yeah,
hey, am I the first to ask that question, or that is that
publicly? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if I should be telling the story, but anyway. So when I first got awarded my black belt, it was supposed to be at the Renzo Gracie ceremony that they always do. Okay. So they'll have a bunch of people come in and they'll give you your black belt, etc. Renzo will give a speech. Mm-hmm. I was just a wild motherfucker in my early 20s, so I was. Okay. So I knew there was a ceremony, but I was like, I'm not going to go to the ceremony because I didn't expect to get my belt. So I didn't go. And I don't know what I was doing at that time. But then John tells me the next day, he's like, Steven, you got your black belt.
I did? Because I don't have it.
Where are you? He's like, but don't worry, I'm going to talk to Renzo. He's like, because you need to get your fucking black belt. He's like, I'm going to talk to Renzo. And then Renzo was like, yeah, of course, give him his black belt. So John gave me my black belt. But this is the truth. John trained me from white belt to black belt anyway. Okay. But it felt right anyway, me getting my black belt from him.
So what is, again, if I don't want to like air any dirty laundry, and I don't think there's any dirty laundry, but how did that dynamic work before they went to PR? Like Danaher was a coach, but was he running everything? And it was Renzo's place, but he's always there. Was Renzo coaching? Only comes in for the important stuff? Is that an okay question to ask?
Yeah. No, I'm going to be upfront. Yeah. So Renzo, there's other coaches at the gym. You have many other coaches at Renzo's, his cousin or his nephews, cousins, etc. And John is just one coach that happens to coach at the gym. Okay. His classes obviously get the most attention and traffic because of just his accolades are ridiculous. He's an amazing instructor. He's the best instructor in the world, obviously, in my opinion. So he's just an instructor at the gym, and that's really all it is. The black belt in Renzo who teaches at or used to teach at Renzo's. Okay. So we have younger listeners. Just to clarify for everybody, we're talking about John Danaher Death Squad, coaches Gordon Ryan's little brother, Craig Jones. I mean, these are the people that you've trained with. Ridiculous. Right? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my room.
So you get your black belt from John Danaher. How long till you open your own gym? Because you're in, is it Arena Training Center?
Yeah, we have that gym now, and this is real kind of my second gym. I had another spot before this called Viking Academy. Okay. And it was my gym as well. So this would be technically my second gym, but I didn't immediately open up my own space when I got my black belt. You got to understand, I was a child. Yeah. I got my black belt when I was 19 years old or so.
How old are you now?
I'm 33. Okay. So I've been a black belt for a while. So I didn't open up a gym till I was in my late 20s. Okay. Yeah. So it took a while for me, but I taught New York jiu-jitsu for a little while. I did a little bit of teaching at Drysdale's for a very short period of time. I lived out in Vegas for like 2 years, but that was kind of like dropping stuff for MMA. And then I decided to open up a space when I got back to New York.
That's still an achievement to have a gym. To have the black belt in your early 20s is an achievement. To have your black belt, to be a Danaher black belt is another huge achievement. And to own a gym before you're 30, that's huge as well. So, yeah. I mean, that's, you're no slouch.
Yeah, no. And honestly, I probably could have done it a lot sooner with the gym, but honest to God, this was never something that I wanted to do. I never wanted the responsibility of dealing with the gym. Mm-hmm. I don't like telling people what to do. I just didn't. It's just not my nature. I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm very much let me just control my little sphere and do what I do. And I'm automated. I don't like to ask people for stuff. And a gym.
So what changed? So what changed when you opened the gym?
Maturity, maturity. Yeah. Like eventually, you want to be able to give something to people long term, and you want to be able to affect people in a positive way. And to do that, you need to open up classes. Yeah. Can't just be. And for a while, I was teaching at a gym, and I just got tired of working for people. I can't work for somebody. It's not my nature. Can't do it.
Voila, podcast.
Yeah, baby.
I have a day job that I like, that I love. I'm in the marketing field, so having conversations like we had earlier, like you were talking to me a little bit about TikTok. That's a new realm for me. But helping people with the logo or build their website and get found online, that's what I've been doing for so long. So I do love it. And because I did that for so long, it's helped us with the podcast, marketing the podcast. I tell people all the time, people that come to me say, I want to do a podcast. What advice would you give me? And the first thing I say is, don't do a podcast. And then they look at me and they go, what do you mean? And I just say, well, look, what kind of budget do you have? If you don't have a budget to advertise it and you're not somebody famous already, or you're not going to be, it takes steps. My advice to everybody lately has been do lives on Facebook and Instagram and see where it goes. See if you're comfortable. See if you get some good, positive feedback before you take that next step. I think that with those lives now, it's a better way to kind of stick your big toe in the water before you even start doing it on a computer and StreamYard and all the other things you could do. But I usually tell them, don't do it unless you have a budget. I mean, we spent a few $1,000s a month. We just hit 2 years. We were spending, for the second year, I spent about $2,000 a month between just, getting a new piece of equipment every once in a while and advertising. YouTube ads, boosting and posting on Instagram and Facebook. So when people ask, I don't usually throw out those numbers, but when people ask me, I say, that's what we did to make this successful, and we don't get, I see like some big names out there that get 20 or 30 views on a podcast in like 6 months. And I say, like, you gotta look at the numbers, look at these podcasts, and you see people and they're relatively famous, more famous than me. I'm the nobody. I'm just a purple belt who likes to talk about jiu-jitsu. And I think again, at least that's the advice that I give. But again, there's this new world like TikTok, right? Yeah. Like TikTok, and you. Yep. I'm going to be honest with you. I told you this before. I did not know your TikTok numbers when I reached out to you. Yeah, as a matter of fact, even I saw your Instagram at about 15 and change right now, right?
Yeah, 15.1, I think.
Is that? I think when I first started following you just recently, is that a relatively new page? Put it that way. Is it within the last year? Because I started following you at about like 2,000, 3,000. Yeah. And then I told somebody, hey, check this guy out. I think I'm going to ask him to come on the show. And it's at 15,000. I go, am I misremembering this? I'm like, oh shit. He really did go from about 2,500 when I saw you to 15,000 within just a few months.
Yeah. Yeah. That major growth came in a few weeks.
Really?
Yeah. So I have a buddy, I train him in boxing. Okay. And he goes, Steve, his name is Jackson. He's like, Steve, I looked at your numbers, 15K. I was like, this motherfucker buying followers. I'm like, come on, man. Come on. So what happened, this is kind of crazy, which is, and just to go back to what you said before I explain that, it's bugged out how few people really know what goes into a fucking podcast or creating a piece of content.
Yeah.
Any of that stuff. Yeah. It's insane. They think, oh, Joe Rogan talks about anything.
Yeah.
It's like, Joe Rogan was on news radio. He has a UFC thing. He's a fucking famous comedian. And Spotify's still pumping money into ads. I see his ads all the time.
Look, and on top of what you just said and what I said about not doing it, on top of that, I have a Bo. I have Bo, a producer who took care of all the technical stuff. Yep. I got a Bo. He takes care of all the technical stuff. So I took care of what I'm good at. Let me talk. And let me do the marketing. So I handle the social media. I'll do the postings. I'll write the descriptions for YouTube and for the podcast. But without him, I couldn't have done this. It would have never been successful. Me just staring at the computer doing this. Again, like StreamYard is a popular one. But me just doing it that way, it was never what we wanted to do. As soon as I talked to Bo about it, who he and I had worked together years ago, and then we kind of reconnected, and I told him about the idea. He's like, yeah, it's a great idea. And then like another week later, I said, hey, you'd be interested in helping me with this? And from there, it's been great. But like you said, people don't realize, like, if I couldn't imagine having to do all the work that he does as well. The setup, the cutting of the videos, the intros, the outros, the music. I wouldn't have known how to do any of that, and I probably would have quit. So that's again why I go back and I tell people, start on Instagram, do a live, see who could, invite a guest.
Exactly.
Invite your favorite people on, maybe some friends in the beginning. See how it goes. See if you're comfortable. Forget about if it's going to be successful. See if you're comfortable. Because a lot of times people are like, I don't like doing this.
Oh, it's very similar.
They think they're good for video.
Yeah.
And they find out real quick that maybe it's better just audio, or maybe it's better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I got a great piece of advice when I first started. A coworker was doing just kind of like a silly podcast with a bunch of our coworkers and friends, and they only did the audio. And when I told them, I said, I'm going to be doing this. What are tell me your, tell me your suggestions. What mistakes did you make? He says, I wish I would have done video from the very beginning. And it's why we did video from the very beginning. We didn't just start the audio. But again, I had a Bo. Bo had his camera. He had a camera. He had some of the equipment. He had the mics. I didn't have to invest in that. We did a dry run. We did like a dress rehearsal that we recorded. And it was like, yeah, this is going to work. We had a ball.
When did you find out that you were good on video?
Well, I don't know if I'm good on video, but it was, that
I felt comfortable.
The company that I work for does video production. It used to be one of our biggest products. I work for a full-service marketing agency, digital marketing agency called OMG National. Part of our marketing programs was we would do a video for every client. So I was always selling it. I was always talking about it, selling it around it. There was a studio with a green screen right around the corner from my office. So I was comfortable with kind of that kind of just being in that environment. I had also worked on a TV show called Metric Revolution. It only appeared once on ESPN, long story, many moons ago. But again, was comfortable with being on set and saw how things worked. Every once in a while, we would do our own video. We would do a video for the company, and they would go around and they would, maybe interview some employees. Maybe they just got you working and you were on the phone and they just took video. But one time I did an interview, and this kid kind of like was going around and he cut these interviews together. So it was like he'd spin in his chair when the final cut was him spinning in his chair, and he'd appear in another part of the office and talk to that person, spin around, go back up to his office, spin around. So he cut it together that way. Yeah. And when I did that with him, this was before the podcast, it came out really well. And even the owner really liked it. It's not why we did the podcast, but when the podcast idea came up, there was no trepidation on my end. I wasn't like, oh God, am I going to be nervous? And then we did the dry run, and that was fun as shit for me. It was just, we had a good time. The guys, your training partners, you're picking on each other. Your weaknesses. The move where you had your balls in his face 2 days ago. North south, and
you bagging them.
Yeah, it was that environment. It's like, yeah, this is gonna work. I love doing these now too, the one-on-ones. But I really, really love when we can have people in the studio, and I've got a couple of my other guys because we're fooling around, we're joking. The guest loosens up. It's just a lot of fun. So very early on, I can't even say like there was a point that we were like, okay, I feel comfortable. We just went into it and it just worked. So it was just like, yeah, this is. Bo and I looked at each other and we're like, I think we have something. There's a lot of messages between us that say, I think we got something here. So,
but you knew it took all of that experience to get to a point where you had that realization.
Yeah.
So that's an important thing for people to take away from this.
So, okay, tell me your story. I've bored you with mine. Now tell me your story. How did it go? What came first? Because I see your YouTube goes back quite a bit. And so what came first here? YouTube?
So YouTube came first. I had a YouTube channel called Panama Dreams. So I'm in an indie alternative rock band called Panama Dreams. We play a lot of shows in Brooklyn and all that good stuff. And so I started making vlog content around that. So I learned how to edit and do that sort of shit in like 2016.
Okay.
But then I started the Steven Strangles People kind of brand, because I was like, why am I not leveraging something I've been doing since I was 15 years old and presenting this kind of content that would be palatable to a niche audience? So I started doing that. And I don't know what years that was. I was probably 2018. So I started that earlier, and then Instagram came after that. But I had been meandering around the corridors. I had a Panama Dreams Instagram where I was putting up behind the scenes stuff of us at the show and off stage and all this kind of wild stuff. So it all kind of came together, and TikTok was the last thing. Mm-hmm. TikTok was honest to God, I had a prank TikTok with my girl. Then And then I said,
isn't it crazy how the one that you probably didn't take as seriously as all the other ones is the one that just goes like, phew.
It's got 1 million
I was like,
followers.
who gives a shit about jiu-jitsu on TikTok? I was like, I'm not going to even waste my time. I put up like me on the pads. I put up me doing a leg lock. It got like 500 views. I didn't return to it for another year.
Same story here. I have like 2 videos there, but one was just for me, like to upload to see how it worked.
Yeah.
And then I never opened it again. And then they said they were going to take it down. I'm like, I deleted it from my phone. I'm like, it's going to be gone anyway. Trump's going to get rid of them.
When that whole fucking China thing came out, I was like, yeah, I swear to God, I was one of the guys that was like, take TikTok down. TikTok. I was like, TikTok's communist. I was literally one of those guys. And then whatever happened, I don't know what happened. What was the realization I had? I can't remember.
You said you did 2 videos. You did a joke one with your girl, and then you did something with you training.
Yeah, we got like 2,000 followers on that, and I realized you can grow very, very fast. But I was like, what's the quality of the followers? As you know,
Yeah. A lot of robots.
Exactly. So I was like, what is this about? And then when I got started with the Steven Strangles, I said I got inspired by another creator who does like ice cream videos, like nothing related to martial arts. And I said, let me see if I can implement some of these concepts and presentations, but for martial arts and fighting. And then I did that. And then I said, shit, I got 5,000 views in this video, or I got 20,000 views on this video. I'm getting followers, like real followers that are engaged, that care about what I'm doing, that are talking to me, following me, then going from TikTok to Instagram to YouTube, following me across multiple platforms. I said to myself, there's something to this. So that was the impetus. That was like the beginning. It was like leg locks, this is how you do an arm bar, stuff like that, and then some MMA stuff. But then when I took it to the next level after that. But that's where it kind of started. All
right. So now, what's the number? You gave me even a different number than I thought. I said 100,000. You're at 115,000 on TikTok now?
115.8 or something like that.
You got to look at it now. Like it'll be like what, like 16,000 before the end of the show.
So I know it sounds insane, but this is one of the. Listen, the attention on that platform is so undervalued right now.
Yeah,
and I want to go overly business right now.
Go overly business. I do 1 minute marketing tips once in a while, and I put them on our channel. So
yeah, because most of my perspective at the age I'm at now, and even like kind of side note, like me and John when we talk, you think it's about arm bars? 90% of the time it's about branding.
Yeah.
Which people don't realize how much of a genius John Danaher is. That's a whole different situation.
Oh, we'll get into that. That's on my list here to talk about.
He's a genius. But I realized really quick that this is undervalued attention. And I started reading articles about all of these corporations that are looking for influencers to endorse their products, and they don't know how to approach Gen Z. Gen Z lives on TikTok, as you know.
Yeah.
So figuring out how to hack that market is a huge thing, and it's a race right now. And you get first movers advantage.
Yeah. I mean, and look, I know you said I just had this strange feeling you were going to mention like Gary V. Gary V. I know has been saying like TikTok, and I'm like, yeah, I don't, another platform for me to have to fuck around with, and but it's funny because my daughter who's 17. She gives me and my wife the TikTok rundown almost every day. We get off of work. I'm still working at home. My wife goes to the office. My wife comes home and we get like the TikToks of the day. She'll even give us like real news. And now she's like, I get my news from TikTok, like legit news that you're going to hear on like CNN and Fox, whatever. So I looked at it and I said, what the hell am I going to do? I couldn't see it. I hear Gary V. I see what he's doing. My wife is like, I don't want to have anything to do with TikTok. She's like, doesn't even have the app on her phone. But then we started to realize that she'd send us videos. They were on Instagram, but they were the TikToks that were pushed to Instagram. Said, exactly. You know that you're watching TikTok already. She's like, no, I'm not. I'm watching. But look, you see the logo? That's from TikTok.
Yep.
So that's when I started to realize, like, there's something here. But it's still been in the back of my mind. It's like, focus on getting the studio to this Miami studio, getting this set up. And again, it was like one of the things on my list. All right, we got to figure this out. And even before TikTok we really wanted to do some additional content. So putting out content videos, doing, instructionals and, move of the week, whatever it is, got with my coach. He wants to do it. I have another friend that has a gym. I know he's like great, big on the leg lock stuff. So I was like, I'll be the dummy, jiu-jitsu dummies. I'll be the dummy. I'll be making the faces, and I'll let you do the moves on me. Got to be a little tongue in cheek for us because, we called ourselves the dummies. And again, it's been in the back of my mind, but again, even when I asked you to be on the show, I'll say this again. I wasn't thinking about TikTok, and then I saw your video that said, "Hey, thank you for getting us to 100 something." You said you posted something about 100,000, and I said, "What?" I went into my app store. I re-downloaded TikTok. I saw that my 2 little stupid videos are still there, and I popped over to you and I followed you. I'm like, "Yeah, he's really got 100,000 followers." And then again, this whole conversation is we're having now. So.
It's insane. We'll get you on there.
Yeah.
I know you have a lot of we all do, but you're really focused on what you need to do. You're doing it sequentially, which makes sense. You're not overwhelming yourself.
Yeah.
But you will end up there, and man, you're gonna be the first. You're definitely gonna be the first jiu-jitsu podcast. But podcast period.
Yeah. So are there not a lot of? Again, I haven't really looked. I see a few jiu-jitsu guys on there. Are you like one of the first guys doing what you're doing? I've never really used TikTok to look up MMA stuff. And
100%. I mean, I have a few people that show techniques, but they don't really know how to present it.
Yeah.
So it does okay. Some of them just don't do very well at all. But so it's all about, what you're doing is important, but context and how you present the product is very, very important.
How did you figure out that that's what you wanted to do? Which when I say that's what you wanted to do, I mean, like you're doing your 3 moves that everybody should know on the streets.
Yep.
Was that conscious? Did it come about? Because a lot of things with like content creation, it's just like, oh shit, that video took off. Let's do that. Was it consciously, I'm going to do it this way, or did it evolve?
It did evolve.
Yeah.
But I you realize as you get older, you go, okay, I'm going to do this, but I'm getting these results. I was getting maybe 5,000 to 20,000 views per video. I was getting, let's say 10 new followers, 20 new followers per video, which is good. But I'm thinking to myself like, okay, how do I serve more people? And what's my inherent toolkit? I have, some jiu-jitsu guys are just jiu-jitsu guys, they're just guys who go and they roll around. That's all they know. I come from a Shotokan background. I come from a self-defense background. Did jiu-jitsu, obviously, since a boy, and the MMA background, the stand-up. So I said, why am I just like, everyone tells you niche. And that's true. Don't get me wrong. Niche is important.
I've been there. I've been there with businesses before, so.
It's so important. I still niche, but I realized I was so narrow that I wasn't serving myself well. And I started to think to myself, I said, how can I serve more people? I said, why don't I lower the barrier of entry? I'm showing super sophisticated leg lock entries that 0.01% of jiu-jitsu guys are going to be able to land.
Still blows my mind when I see those videos from everybody. From everybody.
There's
halfway through, I'm like, okay, you lost me when the leg and the 50-50. And
I'll put them up occasionally, and because I genuinely enjoy it. It's fun, and I get a lot of love from the leg lock community.
Yeah.
But it's really for that reason solely. But I realized, okay, I'm only just tooting my own horn. A lot of these fucking leg lock guys, that's all they're doing. They're going, look at how good my leg entries are. They're not really trying to help anyone. So I had to change my mentality from look at this cool move to you can use this right now. You've never done jiu-jitsu. You don't know what MMA is. You can use this right now. And because I have a skill set to be able to do that, and the editing background, and it's a little affable, it's a little silly, it's a little like, is he serious? Like I kind of am able to monitor that anyway. So I saw a giant, that was conscious. I said, I'm going to show some self-defense stuff. And it was just like, 2 million views on my first viral video.
Wow.
And that changed everything.
Yeah.
Changed everything. Absolutely.
Well, this is it. I mean, everything happens for a reason. And us having this conversation, I think, is going to get, I have all of the people in place, and we've, I've got a place to shoot it. I've got my dummy. And again, hopefully it'll lead into like, hey, if you're down in Miami, let's go. Hey, you mind? Let's go shoot a couple of videos, and then we'll be able to, have again. I'll be the dummy and let other people show. I gave you my idea. We won't say it just yet, but we'll have other people, do those moves on me. But man, I'm convinced. Man.
Brands are moving there, and brands are going to see jiu-jitsu dummies now, and they're going to go, oh my God, this is this beautiful niche, and they have a corner on the market, and that money's just going to funnel into the first mover, and you're going to be the first mover.
Yeah. How how are you doing in kind of that realm at 100,000 followers? Are you like, we have a sponsorship kit that we send out when somebody, wants to do something with us. Where are you there? If I can ask, we don't have to get into the real fine details.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I got offered, once I don't know if it was 1,000 or 10,000 followers, they offer you to join the Creator Fund. So they basically pay you per 1,000 views.
Okay.
And I joined for a little while, and you're gaining money. You definitely make $5,000 to $8,000 a month, maybe, if you're doing really, really big videos. If you're doing smaller videos, maybe you'll get $1,000.
When you say big videos, you mean they're doing numbers or longer videos?
Yeah, like millions, like million views.
Okay.
Like, million views plus a video.
Okay.
But I realized, I'll tell you the truth. I felt like because I joined that Creator Fund, and I could be completely wrong. So if you're another big TikToker and you end up watching it, I'm not shitting on it. I'm not saying that it's true. I might be just a conspiracy theorist, but I noticed a significant slowdown on my views. Now, why does that make sense? Well, there's only a certain amount of money that TikTok has. So they're going to suppress views to a certain degree to pay certain creators, maybe less. Maybe I'm wrong. I know that I literally stopped the Creator Fund and my views went back to like 340,000 views, 1 million views to me. So that's a personal thing. I don't know if that's correct. I could be wrong.
We still love you, TikTok. We still love you.
Yeah, I love you. Yeah, you're helping me out a lot. But yeah, I don't know how that works. So I'm out of the Creator Fund. I don't want any money from them. And I don't do any work with any brands because I'm not really in a position where I'm ready to not sell out my audience, but sell to my audience. I feel like I still have to cultivate a significant connection with them, and it's there, but it's not there enough in my opinion.
So are you monetizing right now? You're not. You decided to take a step back and say, I'm going to do this a better way.
I'm very fortunate that I have a gym that's successful. I have the YouTube, which is a little bit of money, Patreon, which is more money, and that's kind of what I'm happy with right now. I'm doing well, and I think sometimes guys get into trying to make it. So your situation is completely different because these brands want to get seen on your platform.
Yeah.
But me, I gotta say, I fuck with this product.
Yeah.
And do I really fuck with this product? And I don't really have many products I fuck with. So
yeah,
I'm not confident in selling to people at the moment.
Okay. All right. So we have a CBD sponsor. I was using the CBD. He gives away we'll ask some listener questions, and he gives away a bottle for each question that we use. I started using the CBD after he came aboard. I used a little bit of CBD here and there, but then I started using it. So, other than that, it's like apparel, gis, t-shirts, things like that. So that's a little bit easier because, it's like, listen, I had a funny t-shirt site, and then I had the podcast store, and I had an MMA site at one point. So it's kind of like, listen, I just love wearing t-shirts. My wife hates it, but I just love wearing MMA related stuff and jiu-jitsu specific.
So do you go directly to these people? You said you have a press kit and all that good stuff?
I use a sponsorship kit.
Yeah.
I kept it to a one pager, and we talked about this on a recent episode too. The way that we've come into sponsors has almost always been with them doing some type of giveaway to our audience first. So it my CBD guy, he was just a product, product sponsor and then sponsor, right? Sponsors are usually money and product. Product sponsors were what we started with, and like you, I didn't worry about monetizing. I didn't worry about asking everybody for. We knew we had to build an audience. We were brand new. Nobody knew who the hell we were.
Yeah.
So a lot of them had done giveaways, and then they saw results. They loved being involved with the podcast. Besides the podcast, if you watch our Instagram, I integrate them into as much of the Instagram posts, the graphics, and I put their logos on stuff. And they have frames for each individual. If I'm in today, I'll be in this T-shirt. This is DD214, DD214 Fightwear. I'll make sure I get a picture of this, and I'll put it in a frame, and I'm going to post it. Hey, did the podcast today, and start tagging people. So we do a really good job of that. Again, just experience doing it for clients. Yeah. So the easiest way, because I do have a 9-to-5, is if I see something cool on Instagram, I shoot them a message. I'll say, look, I really like that shirt, or I've bought that product, or I have your gi, really love it. I see that you put something new out. Are you interested in talking to us? Have you ever done anything with podcasting? And or because the social media person that's on the other side of that for bigger brands may not always be the person that's making, other marketing or branding decisions for podcasts. So I'll usually ask, who could I talk to on that end about you guys sponsoring the podcast? Very direct. I don't have time to go back and forth and to BS. Look, we need money to keep the podcast going and to grow. This is what we do. I'll send them a podcast. I'll send them maybe all in Instagram, all in the chat, just like I did when I approached you. Hey, man, love what you're doing. Love, just like that. I send them, if they're interested, then I send them just an image of the sponsorship kit, just a one-pager, three packages, my phone number, logo. Bo did a really nice job of setting it up, and that's it. And then I'll get interest, some questions here. When COVID happened, I very much went to pay us monthly, cancel at any time kind of thing. Look, pay us monthly. You get billed once a month. Everybody was having, I started going after sponsors as soon as COVID happened. Like 1 year in, we were like, okay, now we've got numbers. Let's look for sponsors. And then COVID happened. So it was really hard. So it was hard to ask anybody to pay you for 6 months or a year. So then I just went to a straight month-to-month model.
And what do you find to be more effective overall? Month-to-month or the bulk?
I would prefer to do it annually. Okay. 6 months or annually. I even run a special, like first 3 months for free if you pay annually. So gotcha. I prefer to do it that way for a very specific reason. Okay. This takes time. I'm not going to put out a podcast and you're going to get 50 sales the next day. On top of that, this needs to be you need to look at this as a branding opportunity, right? They're going to see you on the podcast. They're going to see me post on my Instagram because those people are probably following us. And then it takes a few times. I call it the Coca-Cola model, right? You see 100 Coca-Cola commercials in an hour-long episode of a show. A few times. You're branded. How many times? I actually say this to clients. How many times? I'm a rum and Coke guy, or a Captain and Coke. I've never gone to a bar and said, "Can I get a Captain Morgan's and Pepsi?" Or, "Hey, give me a Captain Morgan's and RC Cola." Yeah. I asked for a Coke. I don't give a fuck if they put Pepsi in it. I don't care if they do RC Cola or whatever. I don't care if they use the cheap Publix brand. Pathmark. You're from up in New York. Pathmark. No frills. No frills. I don't care what they use. I've been branded to all my life to say Coke.
The power of Coca-Cola in the name. Yeah.
You have to explain that to somebody who's maybe just selling T-shirts, right? A guy that's selling Ferraris and a guy that's selling T-shirts, they each sell one item. There's obviously a difference in what they're going to make, right? I tell people this is a branding opportunity. We're going to put out coupon codes. You got to do what we do. Do what we tell you to do. Make sure that you keep us in swag for the show. Make sure that you're reposting. When we tag you or post, like you've got to show an affiliation to the show. You've got to show it in your feed as much as we're showing it in ours. It helps us, but it helps you too. They're involved with the podcast. If they feel a connection to the show, they're going to feel more of a connection to your product too. So those little things. And I tell them, look, it takes time, and these videos are never going to go away. These videos are always going to be there. We get sometimes even on the podcast sound, I could see the numbers where, I could see the numbers on a brand new podcast launch, but I'll see like the totals are in the hundreds or the thousands of total downloads. It's people going back, they listen to one and then they go back to the beginning, then listen to them all, Right. So there's value in going back all that time. And, if we stay consistency and frequency, the more that we're talking about each other, the more frequently we talk about each other, everybody's going to do really well. So now I've got to make that pitch sometimes in an Instagram conversation. So it's hard to say all of that. But I do tell them, look, this is a branding opportunity. I try to move it to, if somebody's serious, I'll try to move that to a conversation on the phone. But they've got to understand that, because when you're doing a month-to-month model, you can't have somebody go, well, I only got one sale the first month, so I'm out. Look.
I don't get it.
Yeah. You have to. I want to make it clear. I'd rather not do anything with somebody than just have them come in and do something for a month. And we've changed all our graphics and we're including them on the show. And like when you see the episode, like probably under my butt here on the bottom right of the screen, we used to have monitors in the studio with the logo scrolling of our sponsors. And now we just put it directly on the screen. It just looks better. And I think it provides more value. Bo came up with that idea. So hats off to him. But we're doing everything we can to just show them as much as possible. What other podcasts? Think of any podcast, Rogan, big, small. Nobody's scrolling the logos on the screen. Like, right? If you listen to the podcast, if you listen to him on if you listen to him right now on just the podcast sound, right? You hear that you can just fast forward through the videos. So like, us showing the logos and talking about them in the episode, in the podcast, at least that's what we're still doing now. There's just more value there. So
100%.
Listen, I mean, I don't, again, you say
you're getting a lot done via DMs, which if anyone's listening to this, if you're just a competitor, an MMA fighter, your opportunities are right in front of you. Like you can literally DM somebody and so much can change.
I'm sorry, Bo was telling me I'm popping really bad on the mic.
Yeah, you can turn it sideways.
Just a little bit?
No, turn it sideways so you're not talking directly.
Okay, I got you.
You want to be close to it, but you don't want to breathe.
He tells me I'm popping a lot. Yeah.
Pop. Yeah, so when you're driving in the car, you don't know if that's the road or if that...
We won't cut this out. See, this is what happens. I'm sorry, I kind of cut you off there. You were saying...
No, the effect that you can have via DM, like the digital footprint you have, the ability to reach someone in a split second. It used to be like, remember when they used to say back in the 90s and early 2000s or whenever, like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon?
Yeah.
Like we're all just 6 people away from Kevin Bacon or 6 people away from Donald Trump or whatever. Now it's like literally you can go straight to that person via DM and at least make your pitch. The pitch might fail, but you can make the pitch.
Yeah. Because again, I don't have a lot of time. That's a very convenient way of me doing it. But as soon as I see that there's interest, I'll ask them if they want to, have a call. Let's move this to a phone call. What number can I reach on? And that's happened. I mean, we've got 6 solid sponsors of the show. We work with We Defy, Fight Back, DD214, Warriors Next Adventure, another nonprofit. So all of these companies, Flow and Roll, he'll send out free embroidered belts to some of our listeners when they win we give away a lot of stuff too. That was a big hook from the beginning. I was giving stuff away before we recorded our first episode. My wife was like, why would anybody want to wear this? They don't even know who you are. You haven't even put out a podcast yet.
People love free stuff though.
It's jiu-jitsu guys love free stuff. Jiu-jitsu guys love free stuff. They love t-shirts. They love rash guards. So I just started giving stuff away. And we built our audience. We were doing, into the hundreds before we put out our first one. But, we built that from the beginning. So that's kind of been our thing. Between our Patreon listeners, we do raffles every month. We give away, again, with our sponsors, we do a lot of giveaways. I mean, I don't know what you said you've been talking to like Danaher about branding and other ideas. Listen, I tell everybody, nothing sells better than free. And it's a great way to continue it's a great way to continue to build your brand, especially like if you're not monetized, but somebody does approach you for something like, hey, listen, this company approached me. I'm going to give away these 5 or 10 things. You're kind of endorsing them, but not really. And you can even say, hey, I want you guys to tell me what you think. Should I bring them aboard? Like, kind of, play with it like that a little bit.
Include the audience with the decision making. Makes them feel even more a part of it, more authentic.
Are you getting approached now, or?
Oh, not particularly. Yeah. No.
Okay.
Yeah. No, not particularly. Yeah.
And is there a plan on like time frame? Like when I get to this number, I'm going to do it, or?
Yes. Yeah. On TikTok, I got a number for that. And on TikTok, fucking moves, man. Yeah. Instagram. I guess. I mean, I think I'm probably going to have. I don't know. I mean, 15 is just not enough for me to make any real moves. That's maybe even worth it for me, but definitely TikTok. I see some big potential with that platform.
So now let's go back to Danaher. You said you talked to him. Obviously, anybody that's listening would be like, John Danaher, I'm going to ask him about leg locks. And you said you guys talk a lot about branding and stuff like that. Like, what kind of things do you talk about, or what kind of advice is he giving you?
I think the biggest tip he ever gave me was when I first came back, because I was out of jiu-jitsu competition for like over 10 years, a long time. I was kind of over it in a sense. And
training, but stopped competing?
No, always training.
Always training, okay.
Always training, always teaching. But just like over the fucking waiting around to do competitions, and I just wasn't into it. Anyway, I got the bug again. So maybe I'm going to go compete, John. I said, okay, yeah, do like 50 matches, and then we'll do this, do that. And I did a tournament. I obviously ran through a bunch of these guys. But the thing is, I was so excited, because you win, you fucking heel hook someone. You're like, oh man, these kids are 22-year-old kids. I'm like, yeah, boy. I'm like getting up. I'm like, fuck yeah. And then I guess, and it fucking shocks people, and I'm slapping the mat. I'm not overly celebratory, but just enough where it's like I'm a beast. I'm gonna fuck up anyone in this tournament. I'm crushing anyone. And John's like, right now, Steven, you have the Mike Tyson thing going. Mike Tyson never made as much money when he was the bad guy as he did when he was the good guy. He's like, brands didn't want to work with him when he was doing this.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to work with him when he was doing this. So we had talks. I was mentored by George St. Pierre for a lot of years as well. So we had these big sit downs where we go, well, little sit downs really, but it was like, what do you see me as? Do you see me as a Tyson, the McGregor, or the GSP? And he was very upfront. He said, Stephen, when I sit with you since you were a boy, it was always, you're a nice guy. You're always really kind to your training partners. You never hurt anybody in the training room. You're considerate. GSP. And I was mentored by GSP since I was 16 years old. So it made logical sense to me. Mm-hmm. As you can see, Gordon took the McGregor path, which is arguably a more effective path for immediate short-term like buying. And then the third is the Tyson. That's how John breaks it up. And then the Tyson thing is like, it intimidates people and it may even get people talking, but it is a little off-putting. So if you go from one tournament where I'm like cranking legs and fucking getting up and fucking talking, and the next tournament I'm helping. And it was authentic, by the way. Yeah. It wasn't changing my personality. They both reside in me. But I decided to skew more towards, this was expected, and maybe treat people a little better, maybe be careful about how I present myself a little bit. Yeah. John really was the one that made me turn that over.
All right.
Present myself differently.
I agree with that path. I'm glad that you took that path. I think that in your world, from I'm outside looking into your world and the people that you've trained with, you could have easily probably been successful going any of those ways.
Thank you, John. You hear that?
I think you could have been successful doing any of those ways. Yeah. Like Craig Jones, he's the comedian. Love watching his stuff. I watched the Flow Grappling show the other day. Do you watch Flow Grappling at all?
I pop in occasionally. Yeah. What do you
do? They did the Danaher. It's like DHS and PR.
Oh yes,
so he was episode 2. Like they focused on him for episode 2, and he was like running around with Taza and everything. So, but look, I'm in agreement with you, and I think part of that, I don't know when those first conversations were had, but we get to an age where you start to realize that kind of being a good guy it's easier to be good. It's a lot of work doing. I take nothing away from what he's done.
Yes,
it takes a lot of work to be an asshole. It's a lot easier to smile and be nice and to shake things off and no sir, no thank you, no listen, I'm not going to get into it with that guy. Delete a follower, not have to answer them. I haven't had to deal with a lot of that, but occasionally, deleting a comment like, well, that was stupid. I don't want to look at it. Guess what? I don't have to look at it. I don't have to take the Joe Rogan approach and say, well, I'm just not going to look at it. When I do see something, I go, well, you're an asshole. So I'm going to do it. I've never answered a negative comment. We've only had a handful, but I just chose to go that way. So I just think it's cleansing. At least this is for me. It's cleansing for the soul to be nicer. Again, we give away a lot of stuff. We work with WeDefy. We work with 2 veteran like PTSD organizations. That makes me feel good, and that was a real easy decision for us from the beginning. Like tongue in cheek, self-deprecating, give a lot of stuff away, and help out people who need it. We awarded 2 scholarships ourselves under our own foundation to 2 kids. One that supports Tap Cancer Out, and we gave her a scholarship. And the little boy, Bridger Walker, the little boy that saved his sister, he got bit in the face by a dog, saving his sister. Yep. He was our very first scholarship winner. And so we paid for their jiu-jitsu for 1 year. So
it's great. Yeah.
But I'm saying that to you, I'm legitimately getting chills saying that when I share that with people. That feels so much better. I've got freaking goosebumps on my leg right now. It's so much more fulfilling to do that. So keep on doing what you're doing. I love the content that you put out. And look, I'm from New York, so I know, I still got the, like the coffee, water, mother, Everybody I moved down to Florida with was from New York, so it was hard to lose the accent.
I don't know what you're talking about at all.
Both from New York too. Both from New York too.
Oh, both from
Queens. Both from Queens, right?
Water and chocolate.
That's the way they say it down here. But I think it's that New Yorker, right? I think that's what resonates. As somebody who's a Floridian now, I'm almost down here half my life. The New York attitude resonates with people, and the way you speak. I mean, the way you talk is the way that the people that I hung out with in New York talk. I was on Long Island, but but other people, they see that and they, it's the perceived toughness. Yeah. And it's also perceived like, well, that guy's from New York. I'm going to listen to him. He's got to be a badass, right? So you're that's good for you. That's good for your brand. Just the way you talk. I got the same. I got the same.
That's it, bro.
I got the same fade. I got cleaned up. I think sometimes people look at us, and if they judge a guy like you or me by the cover, they're like, "Oh, look at that guy up." I remember before fades, like where I lived on Long Island, before people started getting their haircut like this, it was just like, must be a hoodlum. Baggy pants back in the day in the 90s, sagging off my butt a little bit.
There's a connotation that comes with that, right?
Straight A student. Well, it's A's and B's, let me not lie. Yeah. A's and B's. My father was a cop. I was a good kid, never got in any trouble till I was like in my late teens. Then I went crazy. But I think that's a lot of what you have that you're bringing to the table when it comes to these videos. I
try to be as conscious about it as I possibly can, but at a certain point, you really don't know how people are perceiving you, and you also you can't give too much concern about it. I'm just really concerned that I'm being a good person as much as I can be, because like you said before, it feels better to be a good person than it does to be an asshole. You're on a fucking hamster wheel if you want to be an asshole every day of your life. It's exhausting, and you enter your 30s. It becomes unimaginably exhausting, and where does that end? What do you do when you're 45? You're still that asshole guy?
Yeah.
Now you want to pivot to being your authentic good guy self? Good luck with that.
And you're training, and then I'm assuming you have a kids program? You train kids?
Yes.
Or at least, some young adults?
Yes, we do. We have kids, yeah.
All right. So
exactly. Yeah.
We had Marcelo Cohen on the show last week. I didn't go that far into this, but somebody sent me a really stupid message to ask him a question. The guy was a gym owner. I thought it was a really stupid question, and even he challenged me, like, "You won't ask him this. Keep the prize. You won't ask him this." And he sent me a question, and I'm like, it was an insulting question, not to me, but to the guest. I'm like, I'm not going to answer this.
Yeah.
That if I showed the world what that person said, if you follow his Instagram, he owns a gym and he's training kids. Is this who you want? Again, I'm not gonna say the name of the person, but just in a general sense, if parents saw the content he was putting out, and if parents saw what he sent me, they would probably think twice about sending their kids to train with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for you're also a businessman. You're a gym owner. Imagine again. I don't know. Gordon, a lot of what Gordon does is responding to people. He's very open about that. He usually doesn't go on the attack until he gets attacked. So I'm going to give him that. McGregor, who's looking for the fight, who's like, everybody's a dickhead and everybody's wrong. He's the only one that's right. There's a difference, like in the way they're being a heel, right?
100%, yes.
But if you want to run your business, especially in our world, and you're going to have a kids program, which your kids programs become your adults program, you got to watch what you say. And again, you got to be a good person. If I had a child that I was looking to put in a gym, I'm going to look at your Instagram. I'm going to look at your videos. I'm going to look at your reviews online. And if you're that a-hole, I'm probably not going to bring my kid to your gym, and that affects your business,
It takes a certain amount of mature foresight to be able to see that and be like, oh, this is going to fuck with my bottom line, and this is not worth it. Now, Gordon he's an amazing teacher. He's the best mind in jiu-jitsu, in my opinion. But he's not a gym owner. He's not a business owner. He's a fucking world-class competitor. So his path makes a lot of sense. He's bringing more attention to the brands that work with him. Mm-hmm. And he's not saying things that are racist, homophobic. But he's riding a very smart line. And for McGregor, too, it's like for him, attention is the bottom line. Where with me and with you, the attention is the bottom line, but it has to be the right attention.
Yeah. Again, look, and I have a 27-year-old daughter, and I have a 17-year-old daughter.
Right.
So it's also what kind of image am I portraying to them? Yeah. I don't want to be the guy. You're one video away from somebody ripping you apart online, right? Everybody has a camera and they can review you in 5 seconds.
Heartbeat, yes.
Yeah, and really mess with you. Look at this whole cancel culture. However you feel about it, that's how quick you're just like one video away or one review away from somebody really screwing with your business. So again, it's just easier to be a good person, but. Let's go kind of back to some of those Danaher conversations again. So you're talking about branding, but what do you talk about when you are talking about MMA and jiu-jitsu? Does he help you kind of on that front? Is it more like business? You said branding. Do you talk about the school? Do you talk about training jiu-jitsu? And do you see him face to face?
Yeah. There's some things that he's talked about. I don't know if it's public. I think there's affiliations. I'll just say that are going to be coming up, and we did talk about my possible involvement with that.
Yeah,
maybe it's going to be a multi-state sort of situation going on, multiple gyms, and I will be involved with that. But that's about it in terms of kind of future goals business wise, as far as I know. And really, most of the marketing comes down to what we talked about before: being aggressive in the DMs. That's something he pushes too. You can't sit around and wait for promoters to get a hold of you, for brands to get a hold of you. Go in and get after it. And he's big on making noise.
And again, I'll give a little tip again. I've said before, I tell people, don't start a podcast unless you have money. There are other ways to do it. My path, my opinion, that is my opinion. I do believe in the giveaway model, though. Let them. They can give away product. They don't send it to me, so they don't have to think that I'm taking. Let me grab a couple of shirts for me. Everything gets directly to the winners. But let's do a giveaway, and it usually gets people interested in saying. I might have approached somebody that's never heard of the show. They start listening. They start watching the videos. They start looking at the snippets. They follow us online. And then all of a sudden, they do this giveaway. There's usually a quick little bump. You start to see numbers change. I always take a snapshot of everybody's Instagram so that I can see when right before I launch the first one, and I can see what's moved just in a couple of days. But again, I said before, nothing sells better than free. That's a great way for them to do something with us. Everybody's okay with giving out some product, especially in our world, because everybody's looking for sponsors and everybody's looking for product. And I think that's a great way. So I don't know if you would take that advice from me, but for anybody that's looking to start a podcast, it's a great way. Let's do some giveaways. Let's give some stuff away. Let's make it about the listeners, and that endears people to you. And people are gonna wind up giving you a shot. Again, I was doing the giveaways before we even put one video out, and that's why
I prodded you a little bit on that. I said, wait a second. I didn't understand how the free thing worked. I've seen it before, but I was never really privy to how it works and how to implement it properly, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I mean, on Instagram, it's easy. Put out the picture. Hey, tag 2 friends, tag 2 training partners, repost this. It's easy. I don't know how that would translate over to TikTok. I'm so new to that. How do you do a giveaway in a video, and then how does that help you spread the word?
Yeah.
That's something you'll teach me.
I'm sure it can work. Yeah, I'm thinking now. Now I'm thinking. Yeah. It could definitely see it working.
So we glazed over a little name that you mentioned before, GSP, George St. Pierre. So you said he's, tell us about that relationship. You said he was mentoring you since about 16, and I think you mentioned you were one of his main sparring partners for a while. At least maybe I read that on your website. Yeah.
I think it started. He started coming down from Montreal to Renzo's gym back when we were over the methadone clinic. We were on the 5th floor over the methadone clinic.
Really?
Oh, yeah, wow. It was one padded room with one heavy bag in the corner, and George was just a white belt. I mean, he was a generation older than me, but he was a white belt. I was a white belt, and we always knew this dude had some special talent. I think he was already fighting as a white belt. He was already fucking double-legging guys and beating the shit out of people at such a young age. But so we became friends. We trained a bit, and then I think it was right before the right before the Alves fight. Remember Alves for that fight? How jacked? I don't know if you remember that.
Thiago Alves?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thiago was just dude, that was Thiago at his most bulkiest.
I've seen him in a club down here in Florida one time, and he's just it's a little bit, I think he's my height, and he was 2 of me at that time. He's just
Dude, he's such a scary dude.
Yeah.
So George, I came down, I rolled with George, the cameras were there at the time, the UFC cameras were there, and he was like, holy shit. He's like, we hadn't trained for a little while, because I don't know if people know this, but after Matt Serra fought George was no longer allowed to come to the gym. So he was no longer allowed to go to Renzo's.
Oh, that's right. Wow. Sarah's a Renzo Gracie, right? He's a Renzo Gracie affiliate, right?
He's Renzo's first American black belt. So
that's right. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, they were like, George, we love you, but you ain't allowed here. And that put John in a tough spot too, because now John's like, this is my protege. How the fuck do I? So John would have to put him on. Oh,
so let me stop you real quick. So that first time they fought, was that when Sarah won the Ultimate Fighter? Yeah, that's the first fight, right?
Yes.
They hadn't fought before that. So Matt Serra wins the Ultimate Fighter. I forget what season that was.
Yeah.
And that's when they brought back some kind of veterans and some fighters, I think, right? They brought back the vets. Sarah wins the Ultimate Fighter. Sarah beats Back then, it was if you won the show, at least on that season, if you won the show, you got
title
to fight
shot.
Diaz. Title shot, yeah.
Crazy. The opportunity.
Yeah.
Nuts.
And he wins.
And George wasn't, I mean, I love you, Matt Serra, and you're the fucking man. And he inspired me to a level that I can't even explain. Watching him move and take people's backs before Marcelo Garcia was arm dragging to the back, Matt Serra was on your back like a tumbleweed.
Yeah.
I mean, so inspiring. So nothing but beautiful things to say about that guy. He's a wonderful person. But George was, you know, he was the champ. He was drinking and drinking wine in France. I don't think he trained at all for that fight. And he would tell you this, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, he trained maybe 1 week for that fight. And not that it would have changed the results, because when Matt hits you with that overhand, you know, your legs are going. He hits very hard. But yeah, so he was extradited. He was not allowed in the gym. So I hadn't seen him for a while. So when he came back after the whole Matt Serra fiasco was sort of smoothed out, I had matured a little bit, got a little bigger, put on some pounds, and we rolled. And he was like, "What the fuck is that?" I was training with back in a few years back. So he said, show me some tricks, some single legs, some this, that. He's like, "How about you come up to Montreal?" He's like, I'm fighting this dude, Alves. I mean, you're bigger than Alves, but like he's similar looking to you. I was like, yeah, I'm down. So he started flying me out there. That was the first fight we ever worked together. He brought me up as a jiu-jitsu partner and to help him with jiu-jitsu while John couldn't be there. But then after he realized I had boxed and I had kickboxing experience. So then I said, can I spar? And then Faraz was like, yeah, you can jump in with these guys. Like a box. And he was like, shit, I can use you as a sparring partner. So we started working together more so after that. But it goes back as far as 16.
Wow.
Yeah, it goes way back, man.
So when did that stop? You said for about 5 years you did that? How did he get his ticket back in? Because he did start coming back to train with Renzo's, right? I mean, I've seen him recently. I guess that beef or whatever that was is kind of squashed.
It was right after it was maybe a fight after the second Serra. Then
they fought again, and GSP wins, right? Yeah. They only fought twice, right? Did they wind up? They didn't fight a third time. They didn't. There was no trilogy. He wins the title back. Yeah. Is he welcome back into the gym at some point soon? You know,
there was water under the bridge. There was no hard feelings at all. Yeah. It was just something that was political, but it made a little bit of sense.
And Serra trained in Renzo's in that above the Methadone clinic. He trained there before he had his gym, or is that at that time he had his own gym too? At that
gym, and he had his own gym.
Okay.
And he trained even before that location where they were working out of a kung fu kind of spot. Like there was a kung fu section, then there was like the jiu-jitsu section with like regular like gym mats on the floor that you would find in a 12th grade gym class or something like that. You know, the ones with like the Velcro that keeps the two different pads together. Yeah. That's how that predates me. That predates me.
Yeah. Wow.
But I started jiu-jitsu in 2002, which like is ridiculous.
So you said when you first met GSP, though, you guys were both white belts at the same time?
We were both white belts, yeah. Okay.
All right. So
I was just young.
So tell us a little bit about kind of the MMA, the Muay Thai side of things. I didn't give a shout. I read some of your bio on your website, but you've also trained with some prominent Muay Thai guys as well.
Yeah, so we trained. I managed to get a hold of. Shout out to Matt Ruskin if you hear this. Matt Ruskin brought over Koban, who's one of the most legendary kickboxers and Muay Thai fighters of all time. He's fought Ramon Dekkers three times maybe. He knocked Ramon Dekkers out, which is ridiculous. One of the greatest chins I've ever seen in my life. Amazing left kick. So I started training Muay Thai under him. And before that, even when I was 16, I started boxing at a Gleason's boxing gym in Brooklyn, which is a legitimate, I mean, as legit as you get. Zab Judas from there. I mean, you could just go down the line of great boxers that come out of that gym. So, yeah, Koban is next level Muay Thai right there. Incredible traditional Muay Thai.
So now, do you still? You mentioned before that you got back into the competing, and you had this conversation with John about, you know, kind of the person that you wanted to be, and the slapping the mats, and you know, and the heel hooking. Are you still doing competitions now? Is that?
I did a fight to win a few months ago. I did a fight to win.
Okay.
I fought an undefeated guy who was 4-0 in fight to win black belt, way more experienced than me, younger than me. I'm an old man now, so I can't. But I beat him. And I was excited. I got, if you look at my post right after that match, I'm like, I want a title shot right away. I roll with Taza every single day. I roll with Nicky Rodriguez. I roll with Nicky Ryan. I know where I'm at. Yeah. So I'm like, give me this motherfucking title. I'll win this fight to win title. I'll beat the kids, the young guys, the adults, and I'll take the old man's title. But then the day after my match, Philly shut down. This must have been in, I don't remember the month, but it shut down. And then everything got moved to Texas and Miami. And I'm like I told you, I'm not working with sponsors. I'm like, I'm not going to fly myself down and fight for free, bro.
Yeah.
I didn't get any followers off that win,
Yeah.
I have a different perspective, and I am a content creator, so I have to balance out. It has to make me money.
We had you familiar with Alec Balding?
Alec Balding? Smart. I've seen his stuff on Instagram sometimes. Yeah,
he's a content, been doing it for a long time as well, and. I don't know if necessarily Gordon let the cat out of the bag recently when he talked about how much money he's making from the instructionals, I guess like the BJJ Fanatic stuff. But I think everybody's been, at least the people that I'm talking to, have been a little bit more open. Like, hey, I do these competitions to help me make a living doing, building my followers and selling my instructionals. Yeah. I don't know that I heard a lot about that before Gordon just, again, is just like, hey, everybody, here's a peek behind the curtain. This is how I'm making my money. You hear the word, I'm making $1 million a month. All of a sudden, everybody's like, oh, shit. We didn't know that's what was going on.
John is but John's responsible for all that. So John had that conversation with me personally as well. Yeah. He's like, Steven, you're never going to make money as a competitor. Jiu-jitsu competitors don't make money. You can't live off $100,000 a year, even if you're peaking. What Gordon says, $250,000 if you competed every single month. Mm. That's not real money that you could retire with. He's like, your competitions are just your calling card. It's just your marketing for you, like you said. That was his verbatim. What you just said is what John told me in personal.
Yeah.
The thing is that creators and jiu-jitsu guys have to remember, MMA guys have to remember, is it could be your competitions, but you might blow your knee up. You may never win ADCC. So you have to figure out another way to get people to buy your instructionals or to buy into you. That's why it's called the creator economy. You have to figure out how to tap into creating content that can scale up and make you that money.
Kendall Rusing, who just won a title last night at Fight to Win.
Yeah.
She was on last month, and she said exactly that. We had a whole conversation about the business of jiu-jitsu and how you need to diversify, just like you would diversify your portfolio if you were buying stocks or, I have stocks here, real estate here. She was saying the same thing. She's like, I'm a content creator. My family owns multiple gyms. I mean, that's part of her world. She coaches. She does, I don't know if she's done an instructional yet. I'm not 100% sure, but she also does like a mentoring program. So like people can come to her and she'll mentor them. So she's, got her hands in lots of different things, and she's gone after her own sponsors, and she does it all. And it's exactly what you just said is exactly what she said. If I was to get hurt and I had to stop, could I look? Gordon's seeing that right now. If I got hurt, it's that the stomach issue, whatever that is. If something makes me stop being able to compete, what else do I have?
And fighters don't want to hear that. This is the thing about if I would have went back and told myself at 20 when I was training boxing and sparring pros and going to Texas to fight, if I would have told my young self, Steve, you really should consider shooting a TikTok because you might both my ACLs. I'll say it. I don't care because I don't know when I'm gonna compete. Both my ACLs are torn, but you don't like. If I would have told myself that back then, I wouldn't have listened. I would have been like, Steve, older Steve, get the fuck out of my face. I got this.
Get out of here, old man.
I don't want to fucking hear it. But the truth of the matter is, chances of you winning ADCC, let's be real.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
I got him really tight.
Yo, you're not winning ADCC. You might win the Worlds. You may win the Worlds Masters. And guess what? Even if how about this? Let's be real with everybody who's listening to this. How many ADCC champions do shit sales? The metrics on those sales are very bad.
A lot of people are not as lucky as you or I with the marketing background, you with a guy like John Danaher and just the whole squad and knowing what Gordon does. A lot of people don't have anybody telling them this stuff. So
very true.
It drives me nuts when I even, I've gotten people that have asked me for stuff and I'll send them a T-shirt or a rash guard to say, the more I see, the more I'm going to send. Just really basic. I'm being upfront with you. And they post the box that came in the mail and I see them in the shirt one time. We need to see more. And, it's a really hard thing to have to explain to somebody how they do it or how they should do it. But you're right. I mean, a lot of these guys, they just don't know, and then they blow out a knee, and then it's over. No gym, no seminars,
nope.
Right? No sponsors. Sponsors, bye-bye. Sponsors not going to sponsor you. If you're not competing, and then you have nothing, then you wind up with nothing on the other side of that.
And like what you did when you changed your whole approach, you went from yearly 6 months to monthly after the pandemic. You made an adjustment that you were keen enough to make that adjustment, whether it was necessary or whatever. Of course it was, but you were able to make that adjustment. I have so many jiu-jitsu friends. Some of them are famous. Some of them, I won't say their names because, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but they're doing very well in competitions right now. But we were talking a few months back and they were like, yeah, Steve, I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to start doing this with the marketing. And I look at their page and it's another one-liner, pumped and ready for this match. It's like, I get it.
Thank you to my sponsor, so-and-so.
It's like, bro, anything can happen. It's like, this is your opportunity in your window to create something that's special and to create value. Like you said previously, you got to create value somewhere and like, do it now. Fucking create something that matters now and figure out what that is.
There's a line that I use. I hate to call it a line, but it's something I say to clients when they're asking me for advice. I consider myself, I tell them I'm a roadmap person, right? I have my team of tech geeks and digital marketing specialists that implement the things that I'm selling to my client, that I'm telling my client to do. Right. And I tell them this all the time. I say, sometimes you have to let the business steer. Sometimes the business is telling you where you need to go. Right. For me, COVID told me that the business needed to go this way. And I'll give props where props are due, though. My job during the day, we sell monthly subscriptions. It is you're paying monthly, cancel at any time. And I said, I'm going to have to do that. It wasn't rocket science. I didn't have this epiphany. I mean, I had the epiphany like I probably have to change the model, but the idea was just staring me in the face because it's what I talk about all day, every day. So right. I went to that model. But the business, the industry, the current events steered me to that. I looked at what was happening, what was laid out in front of me. I was talking to Bo and saying, it's not as easy to get sponsors as people think. And here I am making the push, COVID. It's just like everybody telling me the same thing. I don't know if I'm going to be around tomorrow. I don't know if I can keep this business open. If the gyms close, people don't need rash guards. They don't need new shorts. They're not buying gear. They might not be working. I can't. Maybe they would give us some product. Maybe they would do the giveaway. But again, those giveaways wind up turning into stuff for us too. So again, sometimes the business has to steer. So like you're right now, like you know where you've got ideas.
Yes.
They'll get laid out, right? I mean, everything to this point, it's like it laid itself out in front of me. I made some decisions and I steered it this way or that way. But sometimes something happens and it's like, okay, this was right or this was wrong. I got to go this way. I got to go that way. So
I love that. Sometimes the business is steering, like you said. I never heard that line before. And sometimes you're the one making those executive decisions, like preemptively.
1 degree, right? If I took a boat from Miami and I was going to go out, I'm going to go out to Jamaica. I don't know, whatever islands are out here, right? Like people take boats and they go to the islands.
I love this analogy. Right? I love this. Yeah.
1 degree. Just you change the business 1 degree.
You'll be in China.
2 boats leave at the same time, and one goes 1 degree off. He's going to be in Africa before he knows it. So you've just got to be conscious of what you're doing. Don't be scared to take risks. Again, we're talking to people that are either looking for sponsors or want to start podcasts or do what you're doing with TikTok. Don't be scared to take risks. There's an audience for everything. Yes. Right? I'm not trying to appeal to everybody.
No.
We wanted to be I wanted to be self-deprecating. When I came up to the name, I'm still a purple belt. We're 2 years in. And I said, I don't want anybody, again, this was part of my thought process. I didn't want anybody to think that this purple belt was preaching to the entire jiu-jitsu world, including black belts. I came on and said, I'm the dummy. Yeah. I'm going to interview people and I want them to tell me about jiu-jitsu. I want to tell me their take. What do you think? When should kids start jiu-jitsu? Tell me about leg locks. What age should kids start? Should you learn leg locks as a white belt? And this is what I do. I'm very, honest. This is what I'm doing. I'm just starting to learn leg locks. I've been training for 7 years. That's just the world that I grew up in. It's the old school model. Again, fight sports, love them to death, but our model was you're probably not going to learn stuff until you're about to get your brown belt. Now we're going to teach you below the belt. Right now we're going to go down to to the bottom half. Yeah. So all of those things kind of happen, but again, it was all about being self-deprecating and let's kind of be funny with it and be a little bit silly, but have serious guests on and let them have fun with it. So again, look, everybody's business model is going to be different, but we haven't changed that a lot other than the round tables that I mentioned to you before to the interview style.
Studio.
Yeah. So, but yeah, look,
No,
again, when you come down.
The thing is really, really smart. But
say that again, I'm sorry?
The pandemic element is something that this is kind of was the precipice of this whole thing where I said, you got to go digital. I told a bunch of high level jiu-jitsu guys, I was like, you have to figure out a way to go digital, because if you want to do, like, I don't know what your political leanings are. We won't get into that. I'd rather not alienate people and listeners, because I'm not particularly opinionated and I'm not knowledgeable enough. So I'll stay in my lane. But what I will say is, something can happen again. God forbid, there could be another pandemic or something like this that happens in our lifetime.
Aliens.
And if you didn't learn anything from this experience, you're an idiot. Mm-hmm. You didn't learn how important digital is.
Oh, I agree with him.
I've straight out asked people, and I'll say this to you, you're answering the question that I've asked, which is, can you make a living from doing jiu-jitsu? Can somebody who is a purple belt competitor just coming up, early 20s, can they make a living at jiu-jitsu? And the answers are, we're saying, if you diversify yourself and make sure you have a lot of different things going on, if jiu-jitsu gets taken away from you, or you can't compete, but maybe you can train, what do you do? Yeah. Because there's not many of us that are going to want to go back to school at 30, go finish college, or, get a degree and, start something new.
School was great.
Again, I've had I've posed that question to Kendall Rusing. Eli Knight was another guest recently, where I said, can people do what you're doing now? Can a kid coming up, do instructionals, do seminars? Is there money in this? And it's always the same answer. Be patient, build. Everyone got lucky with the video. You are now yet another guest who said there was just that one you had one that went 2 million?
Yeah, my first one hit 2 million on TikTok, and it changed the game for me. And then it was multiple.
What was the first one about? What was that about?
It was kind of salacious in a sense, but I do stand by it. I said, don't punch in a street fight. I said, you have small metacarpals in your hand, which is true.
Is that the one you had the little picture of the hand on screen? Because I just saw that one today.
Yeah. It's the first one I ever did.
Okay. It was like I was watching YouTube stuff. It was on YouTube, so I saw it. It's mixed in. It was mixed in with your YouTubes today. Yeah. When I kind of like played all, and
that just went to another level.
Yeah.
So many people were it was this.
What does it mean? Don't punch in a street fight.
Yeah. No, and people are saying, it's just because people don't know how to punch. Whatever it is, and it's awesome. You get a lot of hate, but I love it all.
Much respect, though, and it was one of the things that I put a note for myself to talk to you about. Much respect for giving the advice about running away. Yeah. Right. Yeah, a lot of your videos, I don't want to say most of them, but at some point you say, do this and get the hell out of there. Run. I'm not bulletproof. I can't stop. I can get stabbed. Defend yourself and get away. You don't hear that a lot in instructional videos, right? It's, I'm teaching a move. You're really giving real world advice.
I really try to, because this shit ain't naga. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're not going to wrist lock nobody. Like, people are teaching things on there that on TikTok specifically that are going to get someone really, really hurt. Like how to disarm a gun, how to disarm a knife. There's tons of memes about them now, but it's like, dude, what the fuck are you teaching?
I'm sure you follow like McDojo, right? I love that they out that stuff.
Again.
And shit, it's like, what the fuck you guys teach? The liability is insane. So it isn't very useful. I try to give practical advice for people, but then I dovetail that with get the fuck out of there. And what I don't do enough of, and I'll say that here live, is I don't tell people enough, like, avoid confrontation at all costs.
Yeah.
Like this is not where it's at. You shouldn't be doing it.
You did, well, I mean, again, it's not in every video, but you have said, like, hey, you see two people having an argument.
Oh, right.
Don't get involved. Has nothing to do with you. You do not know the history of their relationship or that argument. There's nothing there for you to, and probably I've gotten myself in trouble a few times over my life, like maybe in a club, like two people are arguing and then like, hey man, leave the girl alone, like, and you just don't know,
exactly.
Now, if there's a problem over here, yeah,
it's always the girl that comes at you first and starts going back. I was helping you.
I had a girl swing at me. At a club one time. Yeah. I had a bunch of girls that were harassing like a drunk girl. I knew none of them. Just happened. My roommate was a bartender at a club at the Hard Rock, and we knew everybody. So they were just following this girl around. They just looked like they were going to beat the shit out of this girl. Yeah. So I kind of like was trying to call the bouncers over, and they weren't doing anything. And they finally like got over to the bar, and I got in between them, and I'm like, "Yo, leave the girl alone." And I was still like trying to get the girl swung at me. She missed. And I won't tell you what I did after that. Let's end it. I didn't hit any girl.
All right, that's it.
But I wound up in handcuffs in the back parking lot of Hard Rock. I really thought that all the bouncers were going to kick my ass, but they didn't know who I knew. And I said, "Get the manager. Get this. I won't say his name. Get him out here." They came out, and the cops took the handcuffs off. But before I got outside, because they were taking me out, I really thought all the bouncers they took me out the back entrance.
Oh no!
Down these back stairs, and I'm like, I was standing in at one point, nobody was holding me, and I was just like, I'm not going down there. I just thought they were going to fucking kill me.
Yeah.
And I started to ask for the manager. And when they realized that I knew him, that I really knew him, then like they backed off, brought me down, but they got a cop. They put me in handcuffs, all because I was trying to protect the girl from getting her ass kicked.
That's the fucking message in that whole story. It's just don't get involved. Don't get involved. And if you didn't know that the manager, God forbid, what could have happened? I
was like, oh man, I'm gonna get my ass beat.
Yeah.
So we talked about. Did you get you did the fight to win? Do you do regular tournaments now? Are you doing like any IBJJF?
Like 30. Yeah. I was gonna do some opens. I'm just really busy, man. I do train twice a day. I train very, very hard. I'll be going out to Puerto Rico. Hopefully sooner than later. Okay. I'm actually going to PR in 2 days, but that's completely unrelated. But I'll be competing for sure. I just don't know exactly when, Now, exactly when.
You talked about ACL and MCL tears?
Yeah, I got two horrible ACL tears, and one on my left leg is just nothing left.
So that's what I had the day before. I told you before, the day before the pandemic. They turned out to be just, I think they called them sprains, not tears, sprains. Yeah. So how are you not able to? Are you able to? You say you train twice a day. You're able to train regularly. Is it something that you know that you got to get in and get repaired?
I fucking tore this left one when I was 16. So I've never done an MMA competition. I've never done a jiu-jitsu competition with good knees, not one time. So
what are you waiting for?
But you know what it is? It's like and it's like I could still pull good weight. I could still, I'm not as spry as I could be explosivity wise, but is it really worth taking a year off of my training at this stage? And am I gonna go and do an ADCC? You know what I mean? So I had to weigh it out. I'll get it done eventually, but I don't think I'm going to get the knees done yet. I'm holding off.
Yeah,
they are bad though.
So the MMA side. So you did. I saw some videos. Again, you did fight MMA. You did get in there and mix it up.
Yeah.
Were there dreams of going into the UFC? Was that?
I would say that. Yeah. There was definitely some giant goals, and when you're young, you have those immaculate goals of glory and this and that. and I had good fights. I never lost a fight. I had some good times. I actually got to put up another fight that I don't have online. That's Pro Rules down in Texas. I have it on DVD. Great fight. And Samuel Martinez, shout out to him. Tough guy. Fought Josh Neer, really tough guy. But I think I got disenchanted with the sport and the way promoters work and the value I felt as a fighter in the context of me being a fighter. I didn't love it. Even though it was a talent of mine, a very specific talent of mine, I didn't feel like I really enjoyed the surrounding elements of fighting. And now I'm looking, I had the foresight. I was very young. I was in my early 20s, but now when I zoom out, a lot of people are like, Steven, how the fuck are you undefeated? You have 2 amateur titles. You're not going to keep doing this? You haven't lost. You haven't been knocked out. You don't have a single cut. And now when I pull back and I look at some of the people that I came up with and where things took them, or anyone outside of GSP, I look how those stories ended, and they're not. So we don't know what happened for me. I'm just saying, like, it. Yeah, I'm happy with it.
There's a reason why you're here. I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason. I think if you're a good person, good things happen, and the right kind of you make the right choices, and the right path will get laid out in front of you.
You know what breaks my heart? We look at Chuck Liddell. I was talking to my business partner recently, Anderson Silva. these amazing fighters that went in 2007. I idolized these guys. I was like, man, I can't wait. Maybe one day I'll fight Anderson Silva. And now no one even talks about Anderson Silva.
He's gonna do some boxing.
You know that, like, we know, but I'm saying the average layman, average, even MMA fans, they think about Anderson. They don't know what it felt like to watch. He's not even valued at the same.
Yeah,
it's crazy. The fight, like the half-life of a fighter, is so much shorter in this digital age now that it's like, man, you really got to reconsider.
And as great as he was, I mean, especially like people started to hear about him a little bit more recently because of of Chris Weidman when he broke his.
Yeah,
he breaks his leg. Those videos resurfaced, and it was just like, how fucking crazy is this? That the highlight reel leg break that Silva went through, and now it happens to Chris Weidman. Like, man,
what universe does that happen?
Yeah,
like,
isn't that crazy, man?
It is nuts. Yeah.
Well, I can't. I saw it. Maybe I saw a couple of replays, and I scroll right past that really, really quick.
People don't know what fighters go through. It's really unfortunate. It's a lonely life. Yeah. That's another thing. It's like jiu-jitsu is lonely. Jiu-jitsu is a fun sport.
Yeah.
But MMA is a depressing, lonely, isolated, underappreciated life. And you got to be
and you could be doing a lot of damage. Like jiu-jitsu guys, like we do a lot of damage to the body, to our own bodies, right? But the damage to the head that you do in boxing and MMA, it's, I don't know if I had a little boy or if I had even, young kids, even putting them into jiu-jitsu, sometimes I'm like, man, it's rough on the body. I'm in a place where I do 3 or 4 times a week. I get my rest. I go to a massage therapist once a week. I started integrating weight training again because I think it helps me heal up a lot better. But I wasn't doing that for a really long time. I mean, I think everybody does this when they start with jiu-jitsu. You either love it or you hate it. And when you love it,
all in.
That's
all you do.
Training constantly.
First thing you can.
6 days a week. And I don't compare myself to you or any of the pros out there. But for me, 41 years old, I was training 2 hours a day, Monday through Saturday. Saturdays was open mats, and we'd go to different gyms, or they'd come to us. My wife, my wife used to, she was my girlfriend at the time, used to drive her nuts because I was just get off of work, go train. Sleep in the car for a half hour, get there early, sleep, boom, go in to train. And it just drove her nuts. And then my first coach was a DHS officer. He was internal affairs. So sometimes he'd have to go do stakeouts. And he would call me and say, I was a white belt. He'd be like, you need to open the gym today. It was a new gym, so it was all like I was the most experienced of the white belts, but I would open, do a kids class, do the adults classes. It was always 2 hours of adult. So then I'd be gone for, work, get off of work 5:30, and then I'd be training to 9 o'clock, get home by 10. Yeah. And my girlfriend I was living with, is my wife now, was like, 5 hours? Really? Really? And it just it got to a place where it was just like, I've got to cut it down. I can't be open in the gym. And he eventually closed, and I moved to Fight Sports. And now it's just, I try to make it 3 to 4 times a week, but the days that I'm not there, it's either repairing my body or doing some weight training.
Yeah, like a normal person.
Yeah, right. Yeah. We what is it about jiu-jitsu guys that we get, like, what is it about jiu-jitsu that it gets so, I don't see other sports that, maybe not. I'm not into other sports, so I don't see it.
Right.
But we get so addicted to it that you'll train with a bad finger. You'll train with a bad knee. You'll still get in there and sometimes do more damage, but you can't go without the knowledge. You can't go out with that stress release, without the stress relief. So what is it about? What is it about it? I mean, you're going through it now. Right? I got tears in my knees, and I still go train.
Yeah, I never stop. My nerve damage, left biceps completely torn. I'm a fucking mess, man. My body, stage tearing my right ankle, right hand's broken, everything's destroyed.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's the camaraderie that you get, right? The camaraderie is ridiculous. You don't get that in boxing. I come up from boxing gyms where it's like, they'll go in your bag. Like while you're sparring, they'll go in your bag and steal your phone, It's just really? Yeah, they'll rob you. I thought you were
going to say they'll take your wraps or something. They take your phone.
It's complete derelicts in the boxing community. So but in jiu-jitsu, everyone's friendly. It's nice. It's encouraging in most gyms anyway, if it's a good gym. And that's the way it should be. So you're getting the camaraderie. Also, you're getting that dopamine. endorphins. Like you're just getting this rush of primal feel good situations popping off in the brain that you really can't get that anywhere else. I would spar and go to boxing, and I remember being young and I would come home and I would be moody, because head trauma. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know that when I was young. So I'd spar, whatever. I'd come home, be a little snappy, 16, 17, like a little like disgruntled. And then I would do jiu-jitsu with John, and I'd come home and I'd be laughing, happy. And it's because it does. I'm sure jiu-jitsu does cause brain trauma, because they do studies now that say even tipping a soccer ball causes what they consider to be micro concussions, which could have long-term effects. But either way, boxing's boxing. So jiu-jitsu gives you that amazing rush of endorphins, but at the same time gives you that communal feeling. And I think it's, cousins of the chimpanzees, we have that that communal thing. We like being a part of something bigger than ourselves.
I want to go back, a completely different subject. I just want to go back to something you were saying before. So with the videos that you put out, forget about where they are, but just the videos that you put out, you mentioned something about some videos that get put out, liability.
Yeah.
As I was thinking about the idea that I shared with you before the show, I said, what's the liability there? Is that something that you think about? Is that something that we have to think about as content creators now? Or is it something you don't worry about?
I do. I wouldn't say that I don't, because I've had discussions with my girlfriend about this quite a bit, where I go, oh man, I might be pushing a little bit with this video. Now I'm pushing it. But I believe that TikTok anyway, they put a banner. I can't really show you now, but they put a banner at the bottom of some of my videos. So when you check it out, you'll see it says, these moves are being drilled by professionals, et cetera, under the super. So you're kind of covered by the platform. So I think it falls on the platform.
Okay.
But oftentimes in my comment sections, I'll write like a warning,
So that warning that you say you're seeing, that's something that they just put on randomly, or is that something you enable?
No, you can't enable it. They have to do it.
Okay.
But it doesn't affect your reach at all.
Okay.
It does not suppress your reach. I've tested it. It covers them and covers me.
That's interesting. That's good information to know. Because again, look, I'm a businessman.
Yeah.
I'm an entrepreneur like you.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about these things. As I'm thinking about the ideas, and I take my little notes and I roll over and I pick up my phone in the middle of the night and put a little note for myself, like, think about this tomorrow, or, look into this. That was one of the things that came up. It's like, I'm about to, to put out the type of video that I want to put out. Does that put me in any kind of danger? Am I going to get sued? But I guess you're right. We're still, when you think about the internet, it's so new. When you think about some of these apps, it's so new. Yeah. There's so many gray areas. Like, the government would love for the onus to fall onto the app or to the social media company is where they're trying to push it. What are your thoughts? I mean, you're, as a content creator, you're saying TikTok has kind of got you covered. I mean, right? Do you agree with that it should be? Is it the platform, or is it the who's? Wow. I'm using this tool, like Facebook is a tool, TikTok is a tool. Like I can't yell fire in the middle of, right? It's illegal for me to yell fire in a crowded movie theater.
Yes.
Can I just get on to a social media site and yell fire, whatever the version of my fire is at that moment? Again, without getting political, it's like being a Trump and saying this, or it's being on the left and saying, whatever that is. If I'm yelling fire in my respective industry, does that put me in any trouble? I guess
that's a fucking awesome question. I don't think I've actually consciously thought about that. But what I will say is I think a certain degree of responsibility should fall on the content creator. And the only reason I'm saying that is because I'm a part of a subsect of content creators that are completely negligent. They're people that should be banned from the internet because the shit that they're putting out there is just horrible. So I think it should be a certain amount of liability for the creator. And I guess TikTok, it's Instagram, et cetera, the platform should have a certain onus as well.
So you said that a couple of times.
Yeah.
You mentioned that a couple of times about other creators. Can you go a little bit deeper into what you mean? Well, you don't have to mention anybody, but what are they putting out there that you don't agree with, that you think they should be negligent for?
Absolutely. When I first started, I was just putting up jiu-jitsu. People know John Danaher, black belt competitor, MMA background. People
jiu-jitsu.
are comfortable with that. Yeah, jiu-jitsu, like they know it. It's comfortable to them. When I decided to lower the cost of entry so I can reach the kid that's never heard of John Danaher, never heard of George St. Pierre, I said, let me touch as many people as I can, and maybe that'll influence them to get into jiu-jitsu. That was my whole rationale. And thank God I did it. But then when I got into that field, I said, oh, this not only is this necessary and needed, but people are absolutely horrendous. Like the shit that people are putting out Oh man, I guess I have to send it to you in private.
I'm interested as somebody who's going to be doing this. One
guy on TikTok, the guy has 1.4 million followers, 1.6 million followers. Yeah, he has the whole garb on. He has the Secret Service outfit on and the fucking thing in the back.
I know who you're talking about.
Okay, you know.
I know McDojo's been going after him lately, where he's taking the guns out of people's hands.
So he does one.
Heavy set guy.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, I know.
Let me say this before I say what I'm about to say. I love this stuff. When I first saw him, I was like, because I'm thinking as a marketer, so I'm like, his production quality is great. I was like, good.
He speaks well. He speaks well. He's eloquent in his delivery of the material.
I was like taking notes. I was like, I love this guy. But then I never hated on him. I completely was like, do your thing, keep winning. And then I saw jiu-jitsu guys on TikTok reposting him and shitting on him. And I said, let me look a little bit closer, because now he's showing shit that's really personal to me. Mm-hmm. And he's doing it really bad. So I looked, and that's when I started to say, okay, this guy's a little bit of a charlatan. I still have nothing but love for him. I hope he wins, but he should be careful about what he's putting out there. But yeah, he's on his knees in one. He's on his belly in one. And he's like, when someone goes to kick you in your face, like, you can imagine I'm on my belly. And dude,
that's enough says, right there.
That's it. Like, that's it. He goes, put your hand out like this to dissipate the energy. So whenever a guy uses energy in a self-defense video, run the other way. That's ridiculous.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Exactly. I've never heard John say energy. He blocks it, and then he pushes on the guy's knee, and the guy falls over. And the guy like clumsily gets on top. Mm-hmm. It was just like, you're teaching people this stuff, man. You're gonna get someone killed.
You made me think of something while you were saying this. Was there a conscious effort in going from filming? You said so, let me preface it with this. You said something about you wanted to make videos that the young kid that doesn't know leg locks and jiu-jitsu, he's gonna look at your stuff and want more. Yep. Did you purposely go from doing it in the gym to doing it out on the streets? Was that 100%. Was that part of it? Was that why?
100%. I realized, I've always realized this for many, many years, but I presentations, everything. And I thought to myself, listen, what we discussed, I got to lower the barrier of entry, reach as many people as possible, hopefully funnel that into jiu-jitsu, funnel that into MMA, into the stuff that we're interested in, because you can't really teach self-defense long-term. I mean, you kind of can give them tips and they can come in, but they need to learn jiu-jitsu. They need to learn boxing, learn kickbox, wrestle, etc. But I realized that the environment had to change. It's, you have to show, don't tell. You know the deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So showing it in the right context was really, really important to be able to kind of pass that information on in a way that's fluid and felt authentic.
So do you do now? I'm trying to think, and I haven't noticed. Do you do some stuff in the gym? And I mean, the jiu-jitsu stuff I probably would guess that you're probably gonna do that more in the gym if you still put out that content. But kind of the more self-defense, street stuff, more things involved with punching, or I'm seeing that stuff. You're just doing it out in the street with.
I have like kind of, I don't know. It's like a 3-prong attack. I have the street defense stuff that'll have me as the talking head, where I'm going. Mm-hmm. Here's 3, blah, blah, blah. And then I'll have either a female in the shot, my girlfriend, or I'll have another guy in the shot with me, and I'm demonstrating things and talking to the camera. And then I have a POV, which people really love, because now they're seeing through your eyes as a creator.
Okay.
Which that, by the way, that's a game changer.
Yeah, POV is amazing. It's taken over a lot of different industries, POV.
Exactly. And creators need to get on this ASAP. Every creator should be doing this. But I realized, though, because I use POV, if you watch my leg lock videos, I tried it on one video where I did POV entry into third person. And that, people fucking love that. Yeah. They love that. Love the of multiple angles. But that was just too much work.
You picking this up? I might need you for the TikTok stuff. I thought I was just going to do this shit with my phone. Now I'm thinking there's something bigger here.
Well, I mean, you can go into TikTok. Yeah. You can do stuff with your phone. Yeah. You can do stuff with GoPros. What you need is a couple of GoPros.
Gotcha.
Yes. Yeah, I use GoPro as well. Yeah. And that's the thing, is the POV is one angle, and then I do reads. You ever see my videos where I'm going, here are 3 reads you can make in a fight?
Yeah.
Counters you can make in a fight, and that's usually with the backdrop of my logo or a cage in the background. So it's more MMA related.
Yeah. Okay.
3-prong approach. I'm putting out a lot of content.
All right.
Nice.
Well, let's get into some of the listener questions, and you might know one or I picked two questions. I think I'm going to go with this one first because I think this guy knows you. Attaboy.tom.
Oh yeah,
Thomas.
yeah.
Thomas
Yep.
Seth. Is that how you say his name?
Yep. I think he used to train at the gym, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. He says, "Hi, my name is Thomas, and I'm a student under Stephen Williams." He says he's still a student. I have a question for him. At what point in his career did he decide to leave John Danaher's teachings and start his own school? And are you still close? I think we answered that.
Yeah. Okay. I've never left John's teaching. No. You need every teacher needs a teacher.
So now let's take that question a little bit further because we talked about it a little bit. But when they were still here up until recently, were you still going to train with John?
I was training in the pandemic. Yep.
You said you train twice a day. Is that one of them would be with him, or both of them with him, or are you including when you train at your gym?
During the pandemic, we could only train once. We can only train one time during the pandemic, and then you had to get out of the gym.
And you had to be a pro, right? Was that the rule? That's kind of how they got around that? You had to be a pro, like it had to be a living, but the hobbies couldn't come in.
That's what I was told.
Okay.
That's what I was told.
We'll put that on them.
Yeah.
But he did also say, and this is, I know we kind of answered those questions earlier in the show, but he says, when you see him, ask him about Panama Dreams.
My man.
You mentioned it before. Tell us a little bit more about the band.
So my buddy Tony Work, he's a drummer and he plays the rhythm. So we started a band back in 2016. We've always been musicians, but we started a band in 2016. We had a YouTube channel about it. We play all the hipster clubs in Brooklyn and Manhattan, and we played a lot. And we kind of stopped a little bit before the pandemic hit, probably significantly before. Maybe
what kind of music? What
alternative indie rock, I'd say.
Okay,
be kind of the vibe.
And you're still doing that now?
Well, clubs are starting to open back up, so get the bug. But as you know, you really have to fucking dial down. You can only do so much. And I never, as an artist, you never, if you want to call yourself, that's a little pretentious, but if you're creating music or art or any form of art, it deserves your attention. If you can't give it 100%, then play your guitar in the room. Yeah. So we put out an album. I'm not saying we won't. We'll put out put music videos out. I'm sure we'll do that in the future. But right now I'm kind of dialed in on the winning horse, if you will.
Okay. All right, cool. We did have another question. I definitely we're going to get him either a bottle of CBD or a t-shirt. Nice. We have, this came from overseas actually, and I'm going to butcher the Instagram name, but I think it's Safin's Arc. I can't even do this. SAFINSARCHNARY. Safin's Archnary. He was asking, what's your highest percentage pass or your favorite pass, like when you're doing jiu-jitsu?
Man, that's a fucking good question, dude. Wow. My highest percentage pass would probably be cross hamstring, where I bring let's say my passing leg in the center is my right leg. I bring it to the cross hamstring, their right hamstring. I control their head. And with my free hand, I control the far ankle with a reverse C grip. And then from there, I limp leg out. And I go to like reverse knee on belly. Gordon does this a lot as well. Yeah. A lot of guys on the team use it. Yeah. So that would probably be my best. Or if you want to go a step further, this is a good one too, if you're confident in your leg locks, is I bait guys to enter Ashigarami. And then from there, I peel the foot, control the far leg, and back step. That's probably my favorite pass. I like to give the guys leg locks so that I can get a pass off.
Maybe you'll know the name for this one. I don't know where I learned it. It's started out as a little bit of a joke because right now I'm walking around at about 240, and I'm probably one of the bigger guys in my gym most of the time. Yeah. If I'm in the gi, again, I'm saying this because I want to know if there's a name for it. I grab the same side sleeve. If I can get a collar, if they're sitting, I'm standing, they're sitting. Okay. If I can grab a sleeve and grab the lapel, I just jump over their knees and land
right to mount
and right to mount and just sit down. I don't know if there's a name to that.
So his legs are in between yours?
Yeah. If, I'm standing position. Yeah. They might, have their feet up a little bit.
Yeah, that's an old trick.
Yeah. If they put their feet flat on the ground and I've got them, if they're sitting up and I just hop over. I did it a couple of times to some white belt, some younger guys today just to play around with it because everybody has the same reaction, like holy shit, like this 240 pounds, 40 pounds is coming over on me. If I'm in the no gi, I'm not grabbing anything. I just tap their knees. If they have their knees like tight together and I could just get them through my leg, just tap them and I just step right over and I just sit down. Yeah. I try not to land on them. I land gently.
Yeah.
I don't know there's a name to that.
Splat. Yeah, I'm not sure. We gotta name it though. We gotta give it a name. I don't know if it has a formal name.
I already have a move named after me. They call it the Abu Ghraib. Have you ever heard of the Abu Ghraib?
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I don't know exactly what it is though. Abu Ghraib.
I got a move named after me because when I would train no-gi, I would have a T-shirt on over my rash guard. So by the end of training, my T-shirt would be soaking wet.
Yeah.
And I love the North-South, and a lot of times entering into the North-South, my shirt just flat on their face. One of my training partners and one of the original co-hosts of the show, he named it the Abu Ghraib. So I've had that named after me.
I used to call not that, but there's a fight where Rico Rodriguez had in Pride FC where he mounts the guy and he just puts his tits on the guy's face.
Yeah.
And just compresses his face. Yeah. And the guy taps out from that. So similar. But that's
it came from that. Before I knew what North-South was, my very, very first competition, I think it was my very first match, white belt. I was probably a white belt for about 6 months. And my first fight, no gi. And I just wound up in this North-South position, and I'm laying on the guy's face. I'm not trying to submit him, but I'm laying on his face, and he tapped. And I was just like, somebody said North-South, and I was just like, all right, what? So I went home, and I was just like, all right, I have to understand what this is. I looked up North-South, and there's Marcelo Garcia. And I've watched those videos over and over. It's actually in my queue, even though I've been doing it for years. I'm on BJJ Fanatics, because they're doing the 42% off right now. Shout out to BJJ Fanatics. I'm like, I got to buy this. Why? I need to buy this because it's one of my highest percentage moves, one of my highest percentage submissions. So I'm like, I only studied what's online, and there's not a ton. It's usually kind of the same concepts that from Marcelo. So now I'm going to invest in my first instructional video.
That's a good one.
After 7 years.
Yeah. Marcelo is a G. When Marcelo, funny story really quick before we cut off, but when Marcelo first came to America, don't ask me how this happened. He first came to America. I don't even think he had an apartment yet. My conditioning coach, who was also my high school gym teacher, used to condition us in high school on the 8th floor, somehow linked up with Marcelo Garcia and would bring him to my high school. No connection to Renzo, nothing. And we would do strength and conditioning together.
Wow. In
my high school. The guy barely spoke English at the time.
Yeah.
And I used to have to hide it from Renzo Gracie's, because this is back in the day. This is back in the day. Just to be clear too, you guys are very lucky, you modern jiu-jitsu players. In my time, you couldn't even cross train. If you cross train, I've seen people get fucking smacked, like across the face, smacked, and Renzo's. So really? Kicked out, banned, or worse. So I had to, for a while, I had to keep that a secret that I was running stairs with Marcelo Garcia at my high school, and now it's public.
What do they call it? What's the word? Crayonch, right? If you trained in different places.
Yeah, that shit is not the wave back then.
I have, up until last month, besides my first school and doing open mats with my coach, going to places I have never trained in another gym other than my fight sports. We had a guest on the show who was traveling the country doing a documentary called PTSD versus jiu-jitsu. He came in. We went to the AC went in my gym. So instead of filming with my team and my coach in the gym, we moved it to another friend's gym who it was a better fit because he was ex-military, and we did some training. They showed some moves, and then he interviewed veterans, talked about PTSD and suicide, mental health. And then we came and we filmed a podcast. Well, that was the first time that I ever went to another gym since I've been in fight sports. And then I trained the next week. I went back. I went the next day, and then one more time a week later, and just kind of like, hey, they're doing an open mat. So when I've been on the show, I've always been an advocate for, if you're ever going to train anywhere else, just tell your coach, ask for permission. It happened, so then I trained a couple of times, but like now I have to tell listen, I enjoy going there for an open mat every once in a while. Got to kind of ask for permission. It feels weird because I'm older than my coach, so to ask him only by a few years.
You still look up to them in terms of their knowledge.
Yeah, still, I mean, that's it's still like your father in jiu-jitsu, right? The relationship you have with John. So I still feel like I owe it to him to say, hey, listen, every once in a while I'm going to train over there. I know he's not going to say no, but I think these days, as long as you ask for permission, and there isn't any, you've probably heard this a million times. No politics in jiu-jitsu. There's no politics in jiu-jitsu. I stay away from the politics. I hear that from lots of people and coaches, and there's politics everywhere. Yeah, right, exactly. I don't like him. He doesn't like me. This student went there.
You can try to avoid it, but it just
it's really, really silly. But back in the day, it made sense because they were vale tudo fights back then. So like jiu-jitsu, the roots of jiu-jitsu is hand-to-hand combat. It's fighting. Mm-hmm. So it made sense. It's like, I might fight a guy from that gym in a week at the local auditorium in Rio. Like there was or I might fight this guy on the beach. But now it's a fucking gentle sport. I mean, it's not very gentle, but it's a friendly. It's not what it was. It's not.
I mean, it's very much
it's more respectful.
So many schools are competition schools. Let's put it that way. A town over from where I live in Coral Springs, Florida. 2 towns over is Coconut Creek.
Yeah.
Is American Top Team. Their main location is. I mean, it's just a few miles away from my house. So I understand that whole side of it. Look, if you're going to if you're going to be a professional competitor or try to compete at, an amateur and compete and with the aspirations of becoming a pro, I get maybe you don't want outsiders coming in and seeing what these guys, because you never know. Somebody just comes in and it's just like, I don't know who this guy is. Is he taking secrets back? I get that if you're a professional, but for like schools that are quote unquote hobbyists, we welcome people into our open mats. We had a stranger show up today. Nobody knew who he was. He showed up. He trained with us for a little while.
I forget who said it, but it wasn't applied to jiu-jitsu, but it does apply to fighting and to any fight sports, any kind of fighting sports. Oh shit! It just took off out of my head.
You gotta stop smoking that stuff. Jump in. You jump in if you remember. So at the end of every episode, Steven, I just have kind of like I call them speed round questions. Just I won't say much. I'm going to ask you these questions. You got the sound effects. You might not have heard that sound effect that he just let loose. These are just kind of speed round questions. Again, usually ask every guest a version of these questions. So here we go. So gi or no gi preference?
No gi.
No gi. Do you ever train gi?
Yeah,
I don't know if I've seen you. I don't think any of the recent stuff I've seen you in a gi though.
I train gi.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna take a peek again. Go to sub. Your favorite?
Inside heel hook, I guess.
Okay. So takedown or pull guard?
Fucking takedown.
Yeah.
But I do slap hands and sit to my butt quite a bit these days. But I used to torture students back in the day.
So then what's your go-to takedown? Kind of what's your bread and butter?
I got a good lock double and a good high C. Maybe a good head and side single. Probably head and side single is my best.
Okay. Favorite competitor to watch?
Jiu-jitsu watch?
Jiu-jitsu competitor. Let's do jiu-jitsu and then MMA.
Favorite competitor to watch right now? Well, he retired, but Gordon would be 100%.
Okay.
There's no one more efficient and a better display of jiu-jitsu, in my opinion.
Do you watch UFC? You got a favorite MMA competitor?
UFC. Currently, I'm a big fan of Islam Makhachev.
Okay.
Islam Makhachev.
Okay. Do you watch a lot of you? Are you like you'll be watching tonight?
Yeah. So I break it down. Yeah, study the fighters and.
So my wife is in the other room. I brought it down to Miami. We're an hour away, so I said, part of this extra traveling and being away from the family on Sundays, I said, hey, every once in a while we'll go down to Miami, which is great. I'm happy she's here. And so I said, let's go out to dinner. She made all the we're going out to Miami, make arrangements. We'll go hang out in Miami after the podcast. I said, oh, shit. That's a big UFC on tonight.
I can't go out. Yeah.
So I got to try to figure out how do we get to a place that's playing the UFC.
I do 2 birds with 1 stone, and everyone's happy.
Got to have your friend with a TV screen.
Or you don't open your phone all night, and then I go home and I buy it in the morning. I wake up early on a Sunday, and I've done it before where I just wake up early, and I'll just watch the fights.
Can you stay off Instagram, though? For a whole night?
Oh.
Well, no. If I'm with my wife and we're out, I gotta. It's that's an agreement that we make. We got to stay off for a little bit. But do things pop up and turn the phone over and put it on silent? What's your experience with that? Is hard, right? It's hard to put it down. Yeah,
impossible.
Yeah,
I'm glad he said that.
But I mean, and she's understanding more and more now. I don't know if she's going to hear any of this from the other room. She's understanding more and more now. She called this a hobby in the beginning, not jiu-jitsu, the podcast. She called it a hobby. And she says, I'll stop calling it a hobby when you start making money. And then I started making money. I said, you can't call it a hobby anymore. So it's a business. And with the proper investment of time and money, we're going to keep on taking this further. It's like, look, like I said before, as long as you're not an asshole, good things can happen for you. So
they always do.
Yeah. So now she sees it. So she doesn't give me as much shit as when I'm checking, because she knows, like, okay, this is about something to make the podcast better. This is something that's going to help you make more money. But I do try to put it down. I try to go to bed a little earlier, and I try to put it down and just shut it off. I'm not at your level though. I'm not at your level of your numbers yet. We're doing well with our views on the podcast downloads and the views on YouTube, but we made a conscious effort. I'm telling this to you. Our audience has probably heard me say this before. We made a conscious effort. We did 2 well-produced episodes every month, visually appealing. There's an opening, there's a closing, there's music, the logos scroll like
a little less popping, but
you'll see. Yeah. You had when I say your name and introduce you, like, it's going to come out on the screen. Our logo rolled across. Then we started using the sponsor logos. If we talked about them, they rolled across. Put their IG. Like, we produced these really well because we knew that if we wanted to keep on doing this, we needed sponsorship money and we needed to show value.
And I always thought, why not just do the best you can right out of the gate?
Yeah.
Okay,
I agree, bro, 100%.
You have this much budget.
Yeah.
How can you max out that budget?
Yeah.
All right, I got $10. Great. For $10, I can get you a little backdrop, a sheet with a little light, and it's going to give you better than what you would have had without putting anything into it.
We filmed in the conference room at my wife's office.
Yeah, that was the first
for the first 5-6 episodes.
Yeah.
So she definitely,
and it was
again,
hardly
she said
ideal.
Yeah, it wasn't ideal, but it got us to this place.
Yeah.
But again, look, it's stories for another day. But it is hard for me to put the phone down. But we do kind of just make that agreement. We also have this little game of, if we're doing something together, usually like in the house, watching TV, we just slap the phone out of each other's hands and it flies on the floor.
I think about I'm killing myself.
We just tap it and it falls, and it's like, okay, I get the hint. Get off your fucking phone.
Yeah, get off for a while.
I think about it as I'm committing suicide. That when I'm on the phone for too long, I have taken up so much time, I just lost a piece of my life.
Yeah.
That's a fucking powerful way of looking at it.
Like, I just killed a small part of myself because for 2 hours, I really didn't do anything. It didn't make me money. I didn't really learn anything. And it was just, maybe there's some laughs out of it. And I do value laughs, but how much?
I'm good at that, where even though I check it a lot, and especially I want to thank somebody for saying something or repost something, there are very short stints, and I try to put a little bit of time between those.
Replying is okay.
I'm not a huge consumer of the content, right? I'm putting it out there. We're content creators now. I'm not a huge consumer of it. And when I am consuming, it's usually I'm consuming people that are involved with the show, or like I watch a lot of your stuff. I was at home making breakfast, and I put your YouTube channel on. I've said play all, and it was on in the background. And I might go into the other room, and I came back, and I heard something that said, oh, let's talk to him about that. That's the way I put together my outlines before the show. But usually that's how I'm consuming. Like I said, look, BJJ Fanatics, I will be buying my first BJJ Fanatics because now I want to consume that. But that's going to be my first video, my first instruction. The only other ones I have are the free ones that, like Danaher's free ones, like
outside heel hook from Ashigarami.
Well, I think I got through like it was solo workout, solo drills.
That one.
I think I only got through like the first 20 minutes, and I was just like, oh yeah, this is going to be. It's great information. But I was just like, when do I start training?
I skipped that one myself.
All right, listen, I got a couple of more. So, toughest match ever. You fought, and you fought MMA, and you did jiu-jitsu tournaments. Toughest match ever.
And Selma Martinez, without a doubt. I beat this guy. I knocked him down with a right hand going backwards. I picked him up, slammed him with a double leg, ground and pound him for 3 rounds. he would not go away, man. Wow. He just wouldn't go away. He was so tough. Actually, I wore contacts in that match, and I wasn't supposed to wear it, but I can't see without him, you know?
Yeah.
And he elbowed me in my face against the cage, and the fucking contact went flying.
Yeah.
That perception was off. He was just a gnarly guy. He was just a tough guy.
I wear contacts myself, and I hate when I get like rubbed across and it comes out. It's like, oh, fuck.
You
got to take it right out, or it goes into the back of your eye.
You're in the heat of a fight.
I couldn't imagine wearing it in an MMA fight. They tell you to take them out?
Yeah, they don't want you wearing them, but I always wear them. Yeah.
You just got to glue it in. Just got to glue it on there.
You went Michael Bisping in there. You just said you got a glass eye. Other than achieving the rank of black belt, which obviously you've done, what is your ultimate goal in the world of jiu-jitsu or MMA? Let's just say martial arts.
Yeah.
Ultimate goal.
I'd like to reach as many people as possible. So to continue doing what I'm doing, which is to lower the barrier of entry so that everyone can consume this content, or as many people can as possible. And most will hate it, most will love it, some will hate it, but I want to present to as many human beings as possible. Awesome. And so that's my goal.
Very
cool. To spread martial arts to as many humans as possible. Quality martial arts.
What would you be doing now? What would you be doing right now if you had not found martial arts?
Man. That street life, probably.
Yeah.
I was born out in Southwest Yonkers, which is DMX is from Yonkers, School Street.
Okay.
So I'm not far from there. I'm from Radford Avenue.
Okay.
So I would probably be knee deep in the game, 100% in jail or worse. Horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible upbringing.
Wow.
What's the craziest thing that's ever happened to you in competition, on the mats, or in your gym? Craziest martial arts related incident that's ever happened to you?
Craziest thing
we've had. Somebody threw up next to my head. They mounted me. They threw up next to my head. Oil checks are very popular.
Oh yeah, classic. I saw something when I was really young. This kind of shaped my mentality because I told you my day was fucking an aggressive style of martial arts back then. It was jiu-jitsu was really a fighting art in 02 still, and so what one guy was going super hard. This dude was from an outside of the gym guy. He came in. He may have been a little slow, and he was going one of our brown belts. I was a white belt on the wall at the time, and he was going hard against his brown belt. The brown belt took his back, put him unconscious in front of everybody, got up, slapped the shit out of him, grabbed him by his feet, and dragged him off the mats.
Oh, shit.
So, but that was the environment Renzo's was at that time. Wow. If you disrespect us and you're not from here, we're going to fuck you up. Like, we don't even care about your membership. There was no care about memberships. No one does it like that anymore. But visually, I think I probably would have canceled my membership after that. Yeah. Think about that. There was no kick program, bro. Kick program. It was just, I was the youngest kid, 15 years old.
Wow. Ow. All right. Biggest regret as it relates to your martial arts journey? Do you have any?
Biggest regrets? I don't know if it's as much of a regret as I wish I had the experience I had in marketing and content creation. And I had that willingness to connect with people that I have now when I was 20, you know? But it's never too late. You know, a lot of people think you're too old, you're too this. It's never too late. People want to hear what you have to say.
This is the way I look at it, though. Because I say this a lot when I say, man, I wish I would have found jiu-jitsu at a younger age. Mm-hmm. I played every sport. I quit everything. I didn't have the drive or the discipline to do it when I was younger. It took me being in my 40s for this to all happen. So when you look at that, you weren't supposed to have that knowledge back then. Nope. You got it when you were supposed to have it, because if you would have had it then, doesn't mean that you'd be doing this, right? No, exactly. It doesn't mean that I would have never stayed with this and gotten a black belt or even stayed in for 7 years. So 100%. You're exactly where you're supposed to be.
And it wasn't even
when
possible
it was supposed to
back
happen.
then.
So when those little thoughts creep in, like, man, I wish I would. No, because I just wouldn't be here.
And you got to think it wasn't even possible.
My life would not be. We probably wouldn't have started the podcast. I wouldn't have a T-shirt website. I wouldn't. I wouldn't be talking to you right now. So that's how I battle those little demons.
Yeah, they're so silly. Yeah. They're all ego-based. They're all insecurities that aren't real. Make-believe shit, man.
All right. So last question. This is the most important question that I'm going to ask you today, and I think that most people will ever be asked in their martial arts, or really specifically their jiu-jitsu journey. Okay?
This is heavy.
Do you or do you not wash your jiu-jitsu belt?
That's a good question. I was against it for a long time, but I actually do wash it every every few sessions. I'll watch it every week, maybe. I don't watch it after every gi class, but I do watch it. Because you got to remember, you filthy bastards, you're gonna get staph infection in the belt. The belt is fabric. It's like a gi.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Wait, it's gonna say team wash your belt. # team wash your belt when you answer that on the show. All right, Stephen, listen, I think we've been going for about 2 hours. I really appreciate you joining us. I really, really, really mean this. I've said this to a lot of people, and I really mean this for you specifically. If you ever get down to Miami or you're in Florida, let us know. Give us a heads up so we can maybe schedule an in-house. I'll have a couple of my guys. We'll come in here. We'll do another podcast. Maybe we'll go shoot a TikTok video when I get my shit together.
Yeah, very.
And it'd be really awesome to have you come down and do something with you down here, or at least just come in and do a podcast in studio. And again, a little different vibe when you got a couple of guys just shooting the shit about jiu-jitsu. So I really appreciate you doing this. Stick around for a second. I'm not going to let you go, though, but we're going to cut for a second. But thank you again. We appreciate you, and we'll talk to you soon. All right?
Thank you, brother.
Everybody stick around. We're going to do housekeeping in just a second. Awesome dude, man.
Yeah.
Right?
Very cool.
Thank you again, Stephen, for joining us. I really appreciate it. That was awesome.
That New York spirit.
Can't wait. I can't wait to have him come down and do something in-house, or
he would be fun in the studio.
Let me get some little coaching from him on some TikTok stuff. That would be cool.
Yeah, free coaching.
All right. Listen, guys, we're going to keep it. We're going to do the housekeeping real quick. We'll keep it short. Shout out to our Patreon podcast patrons. They include our newest gym sponsors, Carlson Gracie Winter Haven in Winter Haven, Florida. Thank you guys for your support. CJWinterhaven.com and at Carlson Gracie _Winter Haven on IG. All right. Give them a follow. Also, Carlson Gracie Broward County in North Lauderdale. That's down by us here. CarlsonGracieBrowardCounty.com and at Carlson Gracie Broward County on IG. Working on getting Jay, Big Jay, the owner of that gym.
Oh, getting him in here?
I think we're going to have him. They're going to be our next guest.
Cool.
Jay and his leads, his head coach. I think we're going to have them come in.
Is he big figuratively, or?
He's a big dude. He's a big dude. I think he might be my size, a little bit bigger.
You might have to open that bigger.
You might have to open that door a little bit bigger. Okay. Shout out to John Way Martial Arts in Plantation, Florida. JohnWayMartialArts.com and at John Way Martial Arts on IG. All right. Podcast patrons also include Robert Walker, Frank House, Wolsey Rivera, Boa Athletics. Check them out on IG. You think I'd have this down already, Bo? On IG at BOA_athletics. I'm always trying to go fast because I've always got something to do. My wife's in the other room. We're going to go to dinner. So she's waiting on me. You got to
read the fine print. You know what to do.
Michael Pixley Jr., Jason Smiley, Britt Tavar, James Fisher, CJ Carroll, Mission 22, Chuck Reddoor, and Roberto Santiago. Thank you guys for all your support. We absolutely appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. If anyone out there would like to support the show, visit patreon.com/Jiu-Jitsu Dummies. Join and you're automatically entered into every single raffle giveaway that we do each month. You can win at least at least $100 in Jiu-Jitsu swag. Listeners who submit questions like the ones we use today, they'll automatically get entered into those drawings as well. So again, you support us on Patreon with as little as $5 a month. You could win up to $100. All right, in gear. Check out the podcast store at jujitsudummies.shop. Get 15% off with code JJD. Ranked rash guards, tees, face shields, backpacks, and coffee mugs. And everything that we have is available on that site. Free shipping on orders over $50. All right. We want to thank the We Defy Foundation. I put their little guys.
There they are.
Their little patch from the Memorial Day
They're on the screen
event that they did.
Yep, cool.
I want to thank We Defy Foundation for all their support and all they do for veterans and the jiu-jitsu community. For those of you who don't know, they provide therapeutic relief to disabled combat veterans through jiu-jitsu. Check them out at We Defy Foundation on Instagram, and you can donate at any time at WeDefyFoundation.org. Fight Back CBD, Justin, the crew over there. I know Britt's helping you out with social media. Good job. Want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you so much for all you do for the show. We could not do this without you guys. Check out Fight Back CBD or at Fight Back CBD, and that's on IG, fightbackcbd.com, and get 20%, almost said 15, 20% off your order.
That was the old special. Yeah.
Get 20% off of your online order with code JJD. All right? Sorry to screw all that up, guys.
You need a new iPad.
Yeah, I'm doing this from a little phone. My iPad's on the fritz.
Who can provide a new... We'll feature you. We'll give you a shout.
You can check out the show at Jiu-Jitsu Dummies on IG. Click the link in our bio. You find all the ways you can donate to the show, work with us, send us a DM if you'd like to sponsor the show. Everything's right there on that IG. You can check me out at Uncle Milty BJJ on IG. Bo, you got anything to add?
At BOASCIU on Instagram.
Bo at you.
Bo ask you.
Bro at you on.
Bo ask you. God bless you.
On IG.
You don't know what kind of shit I went through all my life with that.
Too late to get into all that. We got to go. I got to get to dinner. My wife's going to kill me.
On.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. We appreciate you. Us.